It's a John Justice show presented by American Experiment. The show begins live at 6 a.m. Now enjoy the AI overlords.
Well, she's married to a rich white man now. He was her campaign manager somehow. Used to be married to her brother. Now she's his mother. Her name is Ilhan Omar. Ilhan Omar. You can find her up in Congress with her homies in the squad. Well, she represents Minnesota. I know she never goes there. She represents Minnesota. I know she never goes there. I know she never goes there. They found some harvested ballots in a suitcase in the back of a car. So tell me how you got elected. Tell me who you are. You represent Minnesota. I know you never go there. You represent Minnesota. I know you never go there. I know you never go there. You never go there. You're married to a rich white man now. Was he your campaign manager somehow? Used to be married to your brother. Is he still your brother? You're married to a rich white man now. Was he your campaign manager somehow? Used to be married to your brother. Is he still your brother?
They once shook hands in the neon glow, building empires with the money flow. But the bill came due and the numbers lied. Elon turned, said I can't abide. Oh, the rockets crashed and the tweets did burn. From golden towers to bridges turned. No electric dreams, no deals to mend. They'll never be great again, my friend. Trump said, Elon, you've lost your spark. Your future's dim, your cars won't start. Pulled the plug on the electric game. Elon shouted back, you're to blame. Oh, the rockets crashed and the tweets did burn. From golden towers to bridges turned. No electric dreams, no deals to mend. They'll never be great again, my friend. From the red hats to the SpaceX flight, Their bond collapsed in a single night. and shake, no more trading schemes, just the silence of broken dreams. Oh, the rockets crashed and the tweets did burn, from golden towers to bridges turned. No electric dreams, no deals to mend, they'll never be great again, my friend.
See, paper trails on a midnight spree, silent scribe in the land of the free, metal hand with a soulless grace, leaves his name but it hides his face, auto pen writes in the dead of night, mechanical ghost in the pale moonlight, the leader's mark without his hand, sign of the times and this shifting sand. Empty halls, hear the wailing sound, a signature falls but he's not around, ink flows cold like a lifeless stream, dreams are signed by a faceless dream. Punch the keys but it feels so hollow, echoes fade in a world we follow, man or machine, who takes the blame, in the end it's all the same. Autopilot writes in the dead of night, mechanical ghost in the pale moonlight, the leader's mark without his head, sign of the times in this shifting sand. Autopilot writes in the dead of night, mechanical ghost in the pale moonlight, the leader's mark without his head, sign of the times in this shifting sand. In this shifting sand.
Sydney hit the screening den, blonde and smiling, clean and bright. American Eagle lit the fire, and the woke crowd cried all night. Said this looks too perfect, dangerous, too symmetrical, too white. While the market just kept climbing, 'cause those jeans were fitting right. Sydney Sweeney has great jeans. Guess that's now a coded sign. We used to call it modeling. Now it's somehow
She's got the mic and the room goes still. All hail the queen of Capitol Hill. Not the brightest bulb, but she's black and queer. Trapped in the headlights like a white-tailed deer. She lied for a living when she knew the truth. She could have dropped a dime in a telephone booth. Her brain's on vacation, but her smile's on cue. Korean wants a job with Whoopi on The View. Yeah, yeah. Na 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 na. When she's asked if there's something wrong, she flips through a binder for the latest song. She looks so cute and sings like a bird, but don't you believe one single word. Behind the podium she builds a disguise, a master of spin with a wink in her eyes. They ask for the facts, she gives them a play. Corinne's in control, it's her kind of ballet. She lied for a living when she knew the truth. She could have dropped a dime in a telephone booth. Her brain's on vacation, but her smile's on cue. Corinne wants a job, Whoopi on The View. Yeah, yeah. La 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 la. She lied for a living when she knew the truth. She could have dropped a dime in a telephone booth. Her brain's on vacation, but her smile's on cue. Korean wants a job with Whoopi on The View. Oh, oh, oh. Korean wants a job with Whoopi on The View.
You're fascinating to talk to.
Thanks, everybody. You guys are the best.
If it's big, you don't touch it. That's what I was taught.
Gave them energy. Gave them energy. Gave them energy. Gave them energy.
Oh, hell yeah.
Don, you're a total rock star. Love you so much and love the talk radio audience all throughout Minnesota. You do such a great job. I'm a big fan.
I think they vastly underestimate human horniness.
He speaks through static waves at dawn, a voice that lingers when night is gone. Twin cities hum with stories spun. John Justice rides the rising
It's hot.
sun.
It's very hot.
Seam of fizz in a plastic cup. Star Wars dreams keep lifting him up. Costco Isles is sacred ground, where neon shadows spin around.
I, as a heterosexual male, like the smell of women.
Tune in to laugh at these morons.
We come to this place for magic. To cry. To care.
Here's the thing about women. Women are insane.
All of us. That indescribable feeling we get.
Yes, queens.
And we go somewhere we've never been before.
It's a bold strategy, Cotton. Let's see if it pays off for them.
Somehow reborn. Together. Sound that I can feel. Somehow, heartbreak feels good in a place like this.
You're fascinating to talk
Our
to.
heroes feel like the best part of us. And stories feel perfect and powerful. Because here, they are.
I traveled all the way to Wisconsin.
Get it started in here.
That still cracks me up. Wisconsin. It's Freedom Friday and the John Justice Show, presented by American Experiment and AmericanExperiment.org. You can listen on AmericanExperiment.org on the MixLR app, where you can also catch the podcast once the show is over. You can watch live at MN Think Tank, also on Facebook and YouTube at Center of the American Experiment. Thank you so much for joining the show this morning. We have a full house. They are all traversing the highways to this very location as we speak. We have Representative Max Reimer on his way in, RNC Committeeman A.K. Kamara, and then Grace and Catherine will basically come to work, and before they go to work, they will come in here and hang out with us for the morning. Devin, producer Devin, is in the house as well. Good morning, Devin. How are we doing this morning, sir?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm fantastic. Are you a System of a Down fan at all?
No.
You know, I don't know. What do you listen to typically?
Everything, kind of.
Yeah, but not System of a Down?
Yeah, I have a really weird playlist.
Yeah.
It jumps all over the place.
All right,
My
well.
wife hates it.
Well, it's good to be... What's she into?
Pop.
Okay. Last night, I'm getting ready to go to bed, and I'm setting my alarms. I hopped on TikTok for a moment. I wanted to see how some of the videos that I'd posted were doing, and I landed on, my For You page, the algorithm. It spit out to me. It was an AI version of a System of a Down done 80s style. It was like the greatest thing that I'd heard in so long. It was absolutely fantastic. As a matter of fact, I bookmarked it because later on today, when I have some time to kill, I want to go and pull it down. I think it was Chop Suey, wake up, kind of put a little makeup. But it was done by a female AI in 80s style, and it was spectacular. I just felt like sharing that
You're
with
fascinating to talk to.
On a Friday morning, we have a lot of ground to cover today. A story that I found on Fox News that hasn't made local headlines, and I'm curious if it will. The former disgraced police chief, Brian O'Hara, apparently was flying with his wife from New Jersey to Fort Lauderdale, Florida, and he ended up having to subdue an unruly passenger. So I'll give you the details on that a little bit later on in the show as our guests go and join us, and we'll move through the news of the day. We have brand new polling to share. Is Lisa Damuth closing the gap ahead of Tuesday's primary on MyPillow? Former CEO and gubernatorial candidate Mike Lindell. I'll give you the details on that on the way. Also, a court has said that more than likely Mike Lindell has violated campaign law with his free MyPillow giveaway at one of the campaign stops. So we'll give you details on that. He did release his 82-page budget report. That's Mike Lindell did. I've seen some posts online, though, where people have run it through AI. And according to the AI overlords, that budget proposal, they believe, is between, I think, 85 and 89% written by AI. So, which isn't that big of a deal when you think about it. I mean, I think a lot of people are using AI to assist in a lot of different aspects in life now, and as we talked about with David Gartenstein-Ross every Tuesday, our AI analyst and expert, there's a way where you can utilize AI to, as a tool, as long as it's not all written by AI. So I'll have details on that, again, a little bit later on in the hour as our guests join us. You can email me at any point throughout the show, john.justice@americanexperiment.org. Also, you can leave us a comment on the Blaster line, 612-584-4565. Again, 612-584-4565. Let's start here. Trump made some major moves yesterday. Signed 2 executive orders aimed at cracking down on the abuse of birthright citizenship. This, of course, was after that ridiculous Supreme Court ruling that struck down his earlier attempt to end birthright citizenship. The Supreme Court ruled against the earlier executive order seeking to deny the citizenship of children born to non-citizens on American soil. Administration officials have argued the new proposal limits are permitted under the High Court's ruling. And this is what we had anticipated would happen with regard to the Supreme Court ruling. It was seen as pushback on Trump's efforts to go and end birthright citizenship, but there also were analysts that had said, well, what it really did was provide clarity on if Trump wants to go and end birthright citizenship, he has to go and do it this way, not the way that he did it, and now he's doing it that way. I'll give you further details on this in just a moment, but first let's hear from President Donald Trump. There was a press conference yesterday at the signing of these two executive orders, and I have a couple of different clips of the president to share.
We had a very unfortunate decision in the Supreme Court concerning birthright. It was close, but a very, very unfortunate decision. So we're making adjustments because it's very unfair. This was done for a different reason. This was done right after the Civil War. This was for the babies of slaves. And what's happening now, people are building businesses around it. From wealthy people are building businesses around birthright citizenship. That's not the way it's supposed to work. It's a disgrace. They're buying their way in, and we're not going to let it happen. And they've made a joke out of it. And we're actually the only country of size, I think just about the only country, period, that does birthright citizenship. I thought we were going to win it at the Supreme Court. Unfortunately, we had a bad decision, very unfair decision. Our country suffers because of it, and we're ending it a different way.
Mr. President, at the Supreme Court, John Sauer, the Solicitor General, did not have an answer as
the first executive order directs the federal agencies to take steps at preventing foreigners from exploiting birthright citizenship through the birth tourism and certain surrogacy arrangements. Trump's second executive order directs the State Department to deny tourist visas to foreigners who intend to travel to the United States to give birth for the purpose of securing American citizenship for their children. Such immigration fraud is already illegal in the United States. Immigration officers have the authority to deny entry for pregnant foreigners determined to be entering the country to give birth. Now, foreign nationals have long exploited, as you know, birthright citizenship to access the benefits of the American system. Across the country, birthing centers have operated for the sole purpose of helping foreigners give birth to American babies. Now, during Thursday's signing event, Trump estimated that hundreds of thousands of foreigners have exploited birthright citizenship. One of the centers in Houston is subject to a lawsuit in Texas for allegedly exploiting birthright citizenship by unlawfully facilitating the invasion of Chinese nationals. For the sole purpose of giving birth, the clinic has said it facilitated 1,000 births overall. This would be an overwhelmingly popular move across both parties if it were not for the fact that the Democrat Party has convinced its base that tackling illegal immigration based off of the laws that we already have on the books is aligned with conservatism. You go back on a short enough timeline, and we've talked about this a lot on the show. We've played the audio. You listen to past Democrats, and they have all expressed the fact that they used to sound back in the day like Republicans do now, but Democrats sought to exploit and go and twist exactly how the public felt, making this a conservative Trump issue to the point where, unfortunately, it's not the case anymore. I still think we can get back there. I still think it's possible to get the public back on board because this is an issue that the majority of the public would typically go and deal with if it wasn't for the fact that they have, to make it the easiest way to describe, Trump derangement syndrome. They're convinced anything that Trump does is bad, and therefore they should not and cannot go and support it. So we'll see whether or not this initiative by President Donald Trump actually has the chance to stick this time, and whether or not, I'm sure there'll be challenges, and we'll see what happens once those challenges move through. I want to share with you in a moment. I talked about this at the end of yesterday's show, so I kind of wanted to end yesterday's show with something I didn't get a chance to get to and start today's show with it, and that is the fact that Republican Senator Michael Holstrom did launch his Sharia-free Minnesota caucus in the state legislature, and I have some audio to share of Holstrom. Before I get to that, though, let me sort of set the stage on a couple of different issues that relate a bit to what Michael Holstrom and other Republicans in the legislature are attempting to go and do. Elon Musk, this comes from the Daily Wire, Elon Musk says he's warned that he will come after a radical left-wing activist and finish the job in response to a report exposing troubling statements made by a former volunteer videographer for the then NYC Democrat mayoral candidate Zohran Mamdani. The social media firestorm erupted after the Free Press published an expose on this individual, Eric Hovagim. I had never heard of him until I saw this story. He's a 28-year-old leftist content creator. He'd previously helped film and edit campaign media for Mamdani. Hovagim, an Arizona-born industrial engineer turned radical influencer, probably because he could make more money doing this, previously labeled Musk a valid military target after footage surfaced showing an alleged downed U.S. drone fitted with Starlink satellite tech. Now, Musk pledged, if they come after me, I will come after them and finish the job. Musk made the comment on X in response to an investor who shared the investigation into Hovagim's history of extreme rhetoric. Hovagim has built a social media following peddling insane conspiracy theories and violent anti-American manifestos. Among his most unhinged claims, Hovagim reportedly called the United States the Fourth Reich, described Israel as the most dangerous threat to humanity, and claimed that both nations are run by Zionist pedophiles. In another horrific post, he glorified the 2024 assassination of the United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson, allegedly referring to the Midtown Manhattan street where Thompson was shot in the back as hallowed ground. Now, Mamdani's campaign quickly sought to distance himself from Hovagim, so you know this guy's extreme if Mamdani is actually backing away from this lunatic. They emphasized that he was merely an unpaid volunteer and not an official staffer. Now, Hovagim recently fled the United States. He did this in late 2025. He relocated to Shanghai, where he now churns out pro-Beijing propaganda aimed at Western audiences. Writing on Chinese-controlled media, he reportedly routinely defends the Chinese Communist Party, dismisses the UN-documented genocide of Muslims as CIA propaganda, and posts photos posing beside portraits of dictator Mao Zedong. Have we seen this commie and Governor Dim Walz in the same place at the same time? I wonder if he has his, I wonder if they text a lot. They sound awfully familiar. The good news is, and this is what I wanted to share with you ahead of this Sharia-free caucus that's being formed. There are moderate Democrats that are actually pushing back on this. There's also an article in the Daily Wire this morning. It was kind of funny, actually, because the article was right next to this Elon Musk one I shared with you. But it talks about how some Democrats are preparing for the next war against socialists. One group is actually launching a $15 million push to undercut Democrat socialism after El Sayed's win in Michigan's Democrat Senate primary on Tuesday. I want to provide for you some details on this, and I'm also going to pose a question that I'd love to get your thoughts on. John.justice@AmericanExperiment.org, or as I mentioned, leave us a blast at 612-584-4565. And that is based off of what I'll share with us. I'm kind of curious if this is something that the GOP should go and lean into, something they should try to take advantage and opportunity of, or if they should just let the Democrats go and fight. I have my own thoughts on this, but I'm also curious to get yours. And so I'll get into some of the details of this in just a moment. But let's go here just briefly, because as I mentioned on yesterday's show regarding this new Sharia-free Minnesota caucus in the legislature, I'm completely in support of this. The real tragedy, though, is the fact that we have to have this in the first place. We shouldn't need to have a Sharia-free Minnesota caucus. Common sense should keep this type of radical ideology from entering into the mainstream United States politics. But unfortunately, as I've just outlined, this is where we are. So I have details from Alpha News to share about the Sharia-free caucus. But let's go ahead and hear from the individual who spearheaded this whole thing. This is Republican Senator Michael Holstrom on his launch of the Sharia-free caucus in the Minnesota State Legislature.
Today is August 1st. This marks the anniversary of America's first battle against the Barbary Pirates. It seems fitting then that on this anniversary, that today I announce the formation of the Sharia-free Minnesota caucus. The Barbary Pirates were state-sponsored marauders from the North African states. They seized American merchant vessels, murdered, enslaved, and ransomed our sailors, and demanded tribute from the young United States, costing nearly 1/5 of our annual revenue. These pirates operated under Sharia law. Americans, as non-believers, were viewed as legitimate targets for their attack. Thomas Jefferson sought to understand why America, a nation that had done them no harm, was targeted for attack. He later recorded the answer given by Tripoli's ambassador. It was founded on the laws of their prophet, that it was written in their Quran that all nations who had not acknowledged their authority were sinners, that it was their right and duty to make war upon them whenever they could be found, and to make slaves of all they could take as prisoners. Jefferson concluded that tribute would never purchase peace. America would have to defend itself. America's first military campaign beyond our shores was fought against those who would use Sharia to justify attacking, enslaving, and ransoming Americans. It seems fitting then that on this anniversary, that today I announce the formation of the Sharia-free Minnesota Caucus. Around the world, governments have invoked Sharia law to justify atrocities. Women have been denied equal rights. Religious minorities have been persecuted. Apostasy and blasphemy have been punished. Child marriage and rape have been tolerated or justified. And in some places, slavery has been justified under the guise of religious authority. Those practices are fundamentally incompatible with the principles that define America: equal justice under the law, individual liberty, and the inherent dignity of every person. Minnesotans had very little say in the importation of this third world political ideology. We can, however, now ensure that our judicial system remains firmly rooted in American constitutional law. That is why this caucus will work to advance legislation that ensures the Minnesota courts recognize one supreme legal authority: the Minnesota Constitution and the Constitution of the United States. America has opened its doors to people from around the world. Many Americans believe we have done so far too generously. But with that opportunity comes an expectation of assimilation. Not the abandonment of faith, but a commitment to our constitutional system. Assimilation is not oppression. It is the foundation of a united nation. You do not strengthen America by importing the failures of the nation you left behind. Rather, you strengthen America by embracing our constitutional system that provide the values and the freedoms we all share. That is the vision of this Sharia-free Minnesota caucus.
And for those that aren't familiar, I'll just give you a brief background, and this is courtesy of the Alpha News piece. In his announcement, Holstrom said that there's an expectation that immigrants assimilate to American society. However, he noted that assimilation does not require an abandonment of faith, but it does include a commitment to our constitutional system, as you just heard. Sharia law is a religious legal system developed by Muslims over many centuries. Sharia governs Muslim conduct and is used in Islamic countries around the world in various forms. The Quran and other Islamic religious texts are the primary source of material for Sharia law. And again, he added, I just want to point this out, just to double down on it, assimilation is not oppression. It is the foundation of a united nation. You do not strengthen America by importing the failures of the nation you left behind. Rather, you strengthen America by embracing our constitutional system that provides the values and the freedoms we all share. That is the vision of the Sharia caucus. So the Minnesota legislature has a lot of different caucuses for those that are not aware. While the four main caucuses are the GOP, the DFL caucuses in both the Senate and the Minnesota House of Representatives, many other caucuses exist that advocate for particular issues. For example, many DFL members in the legislature are also members of the Minnesota People of Color and Indigenous Caucus and the Minnesota Queer Legislators Caucus, which represents the interests of those groups. While Holstrom is the only lawmaker to announce the creation of this Sharia-free Minnesota caucus, he told Alpha News that we are still organizing a public announcement of all the members who are on board. The new caucus is analogous to the Sharia-Free America caucus that exists in the House of Representatives. That caucus, which was formed in 2025, seeks to ensure that Sharia law does not creep into America's system of government. U.S. House Majority Whip Tom Emmer is a member of the Sharia-Free America Caucus. In a press conference announcing his membership to the group, Emmer said that Sharia is completely incompatible with the American way of life and threatens the very fabric of our society. Now, again, there's opportunities here with this. And this is where that question that I had comes into play, and that is whether or not Republicans step in and get involved in this growing infighting that's taking place within the Democrat Party. So moderate Democrats are bracing for the next war inside the party. Jonathan Cowan, president of the group Third Way, said his organization is launching a $15 million effort running through 2028 to discredit Democrat socialism. The New York Times reported on Thursday saying that we are preparing for the next war that is coming, according to Cowan. The money will fund opposition research on the Democrat Socialists of America polling, social media programs, and work to educate Democrat activists and their leaders. Now, the push gained urgency after that El Said narrow win in Michigan's Democrat Senate primary. Polls before the election had pointed to a complete blowout. Instead, the leftists barely edged out the establishment pick. It is deeply troubling to see the radical left candidates winning in places that are potentially presidential swing states, Cowan told the Times. Party leaders, including Michigan Democrat Governor Gretchen Whitmer, Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer, and former Vice President Kamala Harris, quickly backed Said after his primary victory. So, again, and I couple this with the Sharia Free Caucus because there's common ground here that potentially could be found between these moderate Democrats that see what's happening to their party being taken over by these communists. Now, that being said, I'm very much of the opinion of, you know what, let them fight. I think the GOP needs to be able to take advantage of these individuals being disenfranchised by their own party, and maybe there is a case to be made of doing further GOP outreach to bring those individuals over to conservatism and Republicans. And we were talking about this earlier in the week when a social media influencer, Becca Thompson, joined us on the show. A former Democrat, who said that, a lot of her views on the issues probably leans more Democrat, but she sees what's been happening to the party. And as I mentioned with her, we're always going to have a two-party system here in America. But we're in deep, deep trouble if the Democrat Party ends up being completely overrun by a bunch of radical socialists, meaning communists. Eventually, they would be ousted because their policies would absolutely be devastating to America. But we can't afford to go there. So I'm curious to get your thoughts. Leave us a talk back. Leave us a blast from 612-584-4565. And if you want to email john.justice@americanexperiment.org. We'll dive into that polling, a brand new KSTP Survey USA poll. Dameth is now in striking distance of Mike Lindell. Angie Craig is up in a key demographic. It's actually the same key demographic that Lisa Dameth is up to. Also, we'll give you an update on the Senate race, and we'll get to your thoughts, again, from the Blaster app coming up in just a moment on the show. I have in the stack a Gone Green update. There's a really interesting article that came out this week, and it made me laugh because a very well-known meteorologist tried to go and tie what's been happening in terms of the weather and the fires to global warming and climate change. And yet he refutes his own data within the article when he points to the fact that this has actually happened before in terms of the weather that we had been experiencing over the past several weeks. So I had that slated for the 8 o'clock hour. With that, enjoy some commentary you might have missed from Center of the American Experiment. These are all available up on the YouTube page of Center of the American Experiment and over at americanexperiment.org.
If something sounds too good to be true, it usually is. We've heard over and over that wind and solar are the clean and green solution to our energy needs. Power without the downsides of fossil fuels. It sounds great on the surface, but is it true? Let's take a closer look. Every form of energy impacts the environment. Wind and solar are no exception. The only difference? You've probably never been told about their downsides. Wind and solar are both low-power energy sources that require exponentially more wind and solar farms to produce the same amount of power as nuclear or natural gas. This means greater material needs, which lead to unparalleled levels of mining, manufacturing, transportation, and construction, all of which come with huge environmental harms. The land use alone is environmentally devastating. A 1 gigawatt nuclear plant takes about 1.3 square miles. Solar, up to 75 square miles. Wind, up to 3,000 square miles. Powering the U.S. with just wind would require more land than 2 Californias. Then there's the materials. Meeting global net zero targets would require massive amounts of minerals, far more than the world currently produces. This means opening new mines, often in countries with weak environmental standards, dangerous working conditions, and even child labor. The impacts on wildlife are no better. Offshore wind disrupts marine ecosystems. Whales, for example, which rely on echolocation, suffer from hearing impairment and disturbed migration patterns. On land, turbines kill birds and bats, and solar farms destroy habitats. Then there's lifespan. Nuclear and natural gas plants can last 60 to 80 years. Turbines and solar panels, just 20 to 25. They're also not easily recyclable. So multiply the sheer number of units we'd need with their short lifespan, and you have millions of tons of material waste heading for landfills. The truth is, wind and solar aren't the magical solution we've been promised. The costs are real, the trade-offs significant. Low power, high material needs, extensive land use and ecosystem impact. Wind and solar energy production literally do more environmental harm than good. Like we said, if something sounds too good to be true, it probably is. Learn more at americanexperiment.org/shatteredgreendreams.
The best part of waking up is knowing Kamala lost to Trump.
It is a John Justice Show presented by American Experiment and AmericanExperiment.org. You can watch at MN Think Tank on X, also on Facebook and YouTube, and of course listen on the MixLR app and at AmericanExperiment.org. Max Reimer, Max Reimer representative, should be joining us in studio in the next 5 minutes or so. RNC committeeman A.K. Kamar will be in the later part of this hour, and then we have Katherine Johnson and Grace Keating joining us this morning right around 7 o'clock. Let's dive into, though, the latest polling to come out of KSTP, a KSTP Survey USA poll. Dameth is now apparently in striking distance of Mike Lindell. In the closing days, this is good news for the Dameth campaign. So the new KSTP Survey USA poll shows that the Minnesota GOP gubernatorial race has been tightening between Lindell and Dameth, with Dameth gaining ground among older voters. And that's the same demographic that Angie Craig is actually gaining ground on as well, which I don't want to see. I really think that people should choose. Or Peggy Flanagan, might be a good choice for Democrats. I'm just saying. I'm not saying that she'd be easier to beat or anything like that. People want to go and choose. Just saying. The DFL Senate primary remains a toss-up between Craig and Flanagan. Craig is holding a slight lead. Michelle Tafoya leads the GOP Senate race, while the Attorney General race shows Keith Ellison maintaining a lead over Ron Schultz. So Lindell, again, appeared to be pulling away in last month's poll, but now Dameth has narrowed that gap to 6 points while holding a key advantage among older voters who tend to turn out better at primary elections. The GOP endorsed Kendall Qualls, who was on the show yesterday. If you missed it, be sure to check out the podcast available on all podcast platforms or on the MixLR app, and the videos are also posted across Facebook and YouTube as well. He also gained ground, but at the moment remains a distant third according to this polling. Notably, Lindell got 40% of the 18 to 34 age demographic support, while Dameth sits at 14%. However, only about 1/3 of that demographic says they'll definitely vote in the primary, compared to roughly half of the 65-plus age demographic, where Dameth got 41% of her support to Lindell's 28%. Now, Tuesday night may be decided by a slim margin, according to the article in front of me. What is particularly important is older voters and college-educated voters. And Lisa Dameth has a large lead amongst those groups, which can give her some optimism on Election Day. This is according to Carleton College political analyst Stephen Schreier. Pinky's up. Stephen Schreier. I don't know Stephen. I shouldn't give him a hard time. While Craig's overall margin is just 2%, well within the margin of error, she does hold a significant edge among older voters who generally turn out at higher rates for primary elections than younger voters. I think it's pretty clear, too, that Lindell's amnesty idea, and it still is that even though he's still denying it, did not do him any favors over the course of the past few weeks. And this budget idea that he put forward and not having any state tax certainly was a means to try to bridge that gap of individuals that might have hopped off of his campaign because of his, in my view, ridiculous amnesty plan. 15% of the respondents said they're undecided in the race and that it may be the determining factor on Tuesday. That was in reference to the 65-plus age group that Angie Craig, is at about 55% of the vote to Flanagan's 37%. Craig also is up by 5 points among the 50 to 64 demographic, while Flanagan leads among the younger age groups. Getting further into the polling, the biggest demographic shifts over the course of the last month. In the Senate race for Flanagan, she's down 8 among the 50 to 64 age group, -5 among men, +5 among women, while Craig is up 6 in the 50-plus age range, -11 among moderates, and up 10 among liberals. Aren't they all liberals? I'm very confused. When it comes to the GOP side of the U.S. Senate race, the article here from KSTP says the race appears to be all but over as former sportscaster Michelle Tafoya continues to widen her lead in the Republican primary for U.S. Senate. Already up 31 points over the second place last month, Tafoya is now up 48% overall, 35 points ahead of Royce White, with the GOP-endorsed candidate Adam Schwarzy still at 5% and Tom Weiler at 3%. Can I make the argument again about getting rid of the endorsement process? Because we need to get rid of the endorsement process. And the outcome of Tuesday's election, on top of this polling right here, but again, the outcome of Tuesday's election, I think it's going to drive that point home on a lot of different fronts. A significant chunk, again, 24%, does remain undecided, but with Tafoya's lead, which is also particularly strong among older voters, she appears to have the primary all but locked up at this point in time. Now, in the Attorney General's race, I wish I had better news, but the GOP-endorsed Ron Schutz did gain on DFL candidate Thief Ellison last month, but that margin has again widened. Currently, Ellison garners support from 44% of voters compared to 36% for Schultz, although 19% are still undecided. 3 months from now, that latter group may end up casting the deciding votes. So in the biggest Democrat shifts in that race from last month, you had -8 for Schutz in the 65-plus age group, -10 among high school-only educated voters. Ellison was +4 among women, +7 in the 35 to 49 age group. Undecided, +2% among men, +3 among moderates. And I think with all that data, I'm certainly deserving of...
to talk to.
Yeah, thank you very much there, Eugene Carroll. One thing I've noticed, though, just to talk about the Attorney General's race for just a moment, and between Schutz and Ellison, and again, it's algorithm-based, right? But I haven't seen anything coming from Ron Schutz at all. I see Ellison's social media posts, for as ridiculous as they are for the little man, I see them everywhere. I saw one yesterday. He's got this stupid hat on. I have no idea why he wears the hat. It looks dumb on him. Right. That being said, it's a very small hat. I think he got it off of Woody from Toy Story doll. I think that's where that is where that came from. But I see his social media posts all over the place. I haven't seen anything from Ron Schutz. Now, again, that might just be because the algorithm isn't feeding me anything of Ron Schutz. But on social media, Keith Ellison certainly has been putting his name out there a lot. Whether or not that's been contributing to these polls remains to be seen, but we will certainly see how that shakes out in the next couple of months. Joining me to talk about this and so much more on a Freedom Friday, we have Representative Max Reimer. Good morning, Max. How are we doing this morning, sir?
Good morning. Can you hear me? Are we good?
You're good.
Let's go.
You're good.
Here we go.
Good to see you.
Good to be seen.
What's new in your world?
Oh, not a whole lot. Just it's campaign season. There's no doubt about it. Just watching the election results roll in from this past week and trying to extrapolate what could happen in Minnesota.
So we'll dive into a little bit of that in just a moment. I want to get to a few of the comments that have rolled in on the Blaster line, 612-584-4565, and we'll go here.
Shoots on the radio. We need to get his name out. He needs to start talking and get in the public a ton more the next 3 months.
Well, and you know what? It's funny. I'm glad you brought that up because now that I think about it too, is that in the Attorney General's race with Schutz and Ellison, I imagine Ellison obviously will have the money advantage. And right now, it's probably behooves Schutz to not spend a whole lot of money until we get past the primary and closer to the election. I mean, the fact that he's as close as he is to Ellison, and I've not seen virtually anything coming from his campaign, I think says a lot. So perhaps he's holding back a little bit because the primaries, all but irrelevant to him coming up on Tuesday.
Yeah, I think that's right. And what you got to keep in mind is that, so 2 polls in a row now, Keith Ellison, I think, is topped out at 44%. 44% seems to be Keith Ellison's ceiling in that election. And I could be wrong about that, but when you have 2 polls in a row like that where Keith Ellison has 99% name ID in Minnesota, Ron Schutz, he's going to do the appropriate thing in his campaign. He's going to be fine, but you don't have to do a whole lot right now. You're not the top of the ticket. You're going against the guy who has made himself incredibly unpopular in Minnesota. And the thing that I keep looking at is there was a congressional race, John, in Michigan, where you had this Trump-endorsed Republican for Congress named like Abdul Hassan or something like that.
Okay.
And I think he lost to a guy named like Joe Smith. So it kind of goes to show you that if you have a Minnesota-sounding name or just a normal-sounding name against a guy like Keith Ellison, that alone might be worth 4 or 5 points in an election.
Well, I'm curious to get your thoughts on this. I was talking about a Daily Wire piece before you walked in, and there's moderate Democrats that are bracing for the next war inside their party. Jonathan Cowan, he's the president of a group called Third Way. His organization is launching a $15 million effort running through 2028 to discredit Democrat socialism. This is according to the New York Times. He says that we're preparing for the next war that's coming. The moderate Democrats say the goal of their anti-socialist effort is to pinpoint radical parts of the official DSA platform, including defunding the Department of War, abolishing the police and prison system, reparations, and a 32-hour work week. Liam Kerr, co-founder of the Welcome Pack, argued that the far left has so far gained outsider energy and attention without the full weight of those positions. So the question I had asked Max was, is this something that the GOP should tap into, should do outreach on, or, is this an opportunity, or should we just kind of sit back and be like, Democrat Party, you guys figure it out, let them fight?
What is it? Is it the art of war that says when your opponent is making a mistake, don't get in his way?
I believe so.
Maybe.
I never read it, but you might
be
be right.
Him or Napoleon. I don't have my history right on that probably, but that's where I'm at. Let these people, what you're going to have now is you're going to have Michigan, this Abdul Said, who won that election. You're going to probably have this Francesca Hong win the governor's election in Wisconsin. And then in Minnesota, I maintain that Peggy Flanagan is going to win that election as well. So let them try to fight this out. Don't get in their way. Run your most normal conservatives who can win this election cycle. And I think that socialism is not as popular a concept as the polling would have you believe. When you had basically the Tea Party, when you had the MAGA movement, these were movements that had a groundwell of support because real working class people supported that economic movement. Socialism is not going to be the same thing. And I have a feeling that they're going to have the trifecta here in the upper Midwest after Tuesday night.
Let's go here. We have the polling data I shared a moment ago. Did you happen to hear any of that?
The
on your-
KSTP polling?
Yeah.
Yep.
What are your thoughts on it? I found it interesting that Lisa Damuth is closing the gap on Mike Lindell. It's probably directly related to, and we'll get into a bit of his budget plan here in just a moment. It's got to be related to the disaster that was the amnesty plan that we spent last Freedom Friday talking about. But are you putting a lot of stock in these polls? What do you make of Lisa Damuth closing the gap? And do you think that Mike Lindell's budget plan that he released overnight is going to help, shore up that support that he seems to have lost?
Okay, let me say this before I get into the polling, right? You can say what you want about Mike Lindell. I happen to think that he's doing some marketing things right. AI slop is impacting campaigns, and it's impacting campaigns in Minnesota. I did that. I did an analysis on that budget plan that Mike Lindell came out with, and more or less, it was generated by AI, and a lot of his stuff has been generated by AI. A lot of their graphics have been generated by AI, and I think the voters that gets exhausting when everything looks like it's generated by a machine. Okay, getting into the polling. I do take stock in the polling. I especially take stock in the Senate primary polling on the Republican side. I think it's fairly obvious at this point that Michelle Tafoya is way ahead. I think she is going to most likely win.
Yeah, she's up by some 35 points, and there's only 23 undecideds right now. So
yeah. And then with the governor polling, you did see Lisa Damuth, and you also saw Kendall Qualls make some gains on Mike Lindell. I have a feeling that might be the immigration thing. But these polling numbers, it's all over the map from a crosstabs perspective, from the age of people voting to who's actually taking the poll. It's why you got to get out if you care about it on next Tuesday, August 11th. You're going to have to make the decision about who your candidate is.
We were talking about that group, Third Way, a moment ago. This is the Democrat moderates that are looking to push back on the rise of socialism. I have a blast that's rolled in at 612-584-4565. Let's get the thoughts from you listening this morning on the show.
Hey, John, a little factoid. The Third Way was actually something that Mussolini would say. We are the third way, the bridge between capitalism and socialism, the third way. So they're going to be fascist. Thank you, buddy.
I had never heard that before, but I appreciate the heads up.
I feel like I've heard the third way used for multiple groups over multiple years.
I feel like it's been exchanged among hands quite a bit. Let's go back and hear from another friend of the show on the Blaster line this morning, 612-584-4565.
Good morning. Hey, voters in Minnesota, just remember, a vote for Keith Ellison is a vote for continued fraud. Just go with the Abe movement. Anybody but Ellison. Have a good one.
Thank you for the comment, as always, and everybody who's reached out to the show, john.justice@americanexperiment.org. And again, 612-584-4565. Let's keep with this. I mentioned a moment ago, we'll talk a little bit about the alleged AI-penned budget plan from Mike Lindell. And I, as I mentioned earlier, you can use AI as a tool, and I haven't gone through the 82 pages of it to see whether or not it is clear that it was written in AI. I don't have an issue with that. It just depends how much of it was written in AI. How much did you throw into the generator? What did you throw into the generator, and how much of it of the AI did you keep? How much of this is the AI overlord's plan, and how much of it is actually your plan? I mean, there's probably no way of knowing that, but that's where the concern comes in. I don't necessarily have a problem with him using artificial intelligence.
No, listen, it's just been a theme that I've noticed where every graphic, every long form post, everything that I'm seeing has been obviously AI generated. And this is the hard part. I look at some of the plans because I'm paying attention to what all these candidates are doing, and I'm paying attention to what Amy Klobuchar is doing. Amy Klobuchar is releasing plans right now that are simple, that are ingestible, that basically don't highlight the specific policy positions, but keep the themes of the policies broad. And that's what you got to do. I think that's what connects with people. So as these candidates, whoever moves forward, I'd like to see them come out with their own plans that are very basic, that are obviously written by human beings.
An administrative law judge, as we continue on a Freedom Friday, we have Representative Max Reimer in studio. RNC Committeeman A.K. Kamara should be making his way down the hall here shortly. And we have Catherine Johnson and Grace Keating joining us. An administrative law judge found probable cause that Mike Lindell violated campaign finance law by distributing pillows with his name during a parade. The complaint alleges that Lindell violated the Fair Campaign Practices Act by giving items of value to influence voting. So the major crux of this, according to the complaint, Lindell and other unidentified individuals were throwing pillows with an estimated retail value of $34.95 to spectators on the route. Now, Lindell told KARE 11 that the allegations were wrong and that the estimated value of the pillow is actually $4.90, saying his team checked out the rules and dotted their I's and crossed their T's. I don't think this is going to have much of an impact on the election or the primary, apart from, I guess he would be. I guess there's a fine involved with this if you break this kind of campaign rule.
I don't care about this at all.
It seems pretty silly.
I don't care about this one at all. I don't care about the campaign. Like, every campaign lobs campaign finance violation accusations at other campaigns, and it goes so far over normal people's heads that it doesn't make a difference at all. People give away shirts all the time. People give away swag all the time. I have a hard time seeing what's different about this.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you on that. This seems a little, I mean, of all the things that people have been concerned about regarding Mike Lindell, of people that have concern of Mike Lindell and what he's been doing, I think the pillow flap is probably the least concerning among them. Let's get back to some of your thoughts from the Blaster line this morning here on the John Justice Show presented by American Experiment.
Happy Freedom Friday, everybody. I am sorry for those that support Mike Lindell, but there's no way that he can win the election. I am sorry. He doesn't sound gubernatorial. He stumbles. He sounds like a doofus. He may not be, but the visual is half of the issue. He's not going to get elected. So let's put our power behind a candidate that can get elected. I know you like him as a person. That's great. But there's no way he can win the election just because of the visual and the way that he talks.
Yeah, it's obviously unfortunate for the Mike Lindell campaign that he's been dealing with all these controversies. However, for voters, it really has, I think, raised the awareness of Mike Lindell among individuals, seeing a little bit more background and provided more scrutiny for people to look beyond, say, just the Trump endorsement. Because I think a lot of people were just looking at the Trump endorsement and being, okay, Trump endorsed him, I'm going with him. And that's fine and dandy if you want to go and do that. But that being said, you know, everybody needs to do their due diligence to make sure that you're supporting a candidate that you genuinely believe can win and you have a good, firm background on all of them. Before we talk with our next Freedom Friday guest here in just a moment, let's go back to the Blaster line, 612-584-4565. We have friend of the show, Scott. Now, Scott's talking about Mike Lindell. He's talking about AI and the budget plan. So on the Scott Kahn level, 1 being the least enthusiastic, 5 being the most enthusiastic, where do you think Scott's going to land today? Max Reimer, representative, where do you think we're at on the Scott Kahn level this morning?
I'm going to say, I'm going to put
at a 2?
That's what I'm saying.
All right.
At a 2.
RNC Committeeman A.K. Kamara, Scott Kahn level, what do you think?
Good morning. I'm going to say 3.
Okay.
I'm putting right in the middle. Right in the middle.
Producer Devin?
Is he on or off topic?
He's on topic. Yeah, Mike Lindell, AI.
Yeah, I like 2.
2? All right, let's find out for ourselves. 612-584-4565.
Good morning, John and Max. As to the whole situation with Mike Lindell, I have no doubt that he used AI, and frankly, the guy just needs to go away and make some pillows and stop getting involved with the election process because he's not qualified for the job. We got Damas and we got Qualls that are up for the task. He needs to just step aside.
I think that was more on a 4 level, guys. I think you guys.
Yeah,
I
that
think,
was a 4.
I think you all were way off.
Hey, I said 3. I wasn't that far off.
On your ScottCon level this morning. RNC Committeeman A.K. Kamar. Good morning, sir. How are we doing this morning?
I'm doing fantastic. I think the studio is amazing. The drive this morning was beautiful, and I got here basically at the time I said I would. So
you did.
You know,
new
clap
new
for
show,
myself.
new AK.
Claps for myself.
And Jesus is king.
Jesus is king.
So there you go. Nice shirt this morning, my friend. We match.
Yeah, we got to rep the set.
That's right. So Mike Lindell, the candidate for governor, does propose eliminating the state income tax in his budget plan. He argues that savings from direct primary care and other changes will cover the cost. Lindell also addresses questions about his residency, immigration, MyPillow, and bipartisan cooperation. Anybody who wants to see the entirety of this article, we're not going to go through it in this interview. You can head on over to Fox 9. It is an incredibly lengthy piece. In addressing those issues, he still, maintains that he has residency here in the state and he is legally qualified to run for governor. I don't think there's been any progress made on that front at this point in time regarding the residency claims. The one thing I do want to mention, though, is that he says this about his opposition from the Minnesota GOP. Their endorsements have not been picked up by the people of Minnesota since 1994. They haven't won in 24 years, and Alex Plekas should step down. He's attacked me since I announced I was running December 8th of last year, and it's a shame when they get up to Duluth and they have this fiasco up there where the voting machines went down. I don't agree. Personally, I think it's a dumb move for him to be going after Alex Plekas. I completely understand where Plekas was coming from, because if we don't get further clarification on the residency issue, if he were to win the primary on Tuesday, as I mentioned when the story first erupted, the DFL is going to make hay out of this. So I think that Alex Plekas was kind of in a tough spot having to go and deal with this particular issue. Freedom Friday guests, what do you guys think?
AK, you want to take this one?
Yeah, man. Listen, I'm not a guy that shies away from hard questions and honest answers. I think that Chairman Plekas has the right mindset, because let's say after the fact, after the primary, let's say that Mike Lindell wins. What if Steve Simon comes out and is then backed up by the Minnesota State Supreme Court saying, yep, he's not eligible? What do we do then? We do a mass write-in campaign for someone else or whatever? So my only beef that I have, and I serve with Chairman Plekas, it's myself, our national committee woman, Emily Novotny Chance, and Chairman Plekas were the 3 members of the RNC. My only beef is that I think he should have done this and asked this question earlier. And just to be completely candid, we have a nominations committee. That nominations committee basically brought forth a bunch of questions and information to the body, and the body at that point decided that Mike Lindell was not going to be who the endorsed candidate was. They ended up going out with Kendall Qualls. So I think that it's important to have this conversation. Anyone that is, mad at Chairman Plekas, his job as the Republican Party state chair is to defend our endorsed candidates, regardless of what you think. So you have to look at it from that perspective. We still want Kendall Qualls as party officers to be able to come across the line. We still want all of our endorsed candidates to win. But there is one last caveat that I'll also be critical about Chairman Plekas. Sometimes if you go this hard in the paint and your endorsed candidate ends up not winning, we still have a job to beat Democrats and elect Republicans on our general election ballot. I find that it's a lot harder for Chairman Plekas to then make up and say, hey, man, this was all in, service to the party, and let's shake and be friends, shake hands, be friends, make up, and we're going to go forward and we're going to beat Amy Klobuchar. It sounds like he's going to either have to eat a lot of crow or, really go with his hat in hand, say, I'm sorry, I want to stay in. And if not, then that just makes my job more difficult as also a party officer, being like, yeah, so I guess we're going to move forward with it. But again, I think that the premise of what he brought up, of saying, let's get clarification before the primary's over so we don't end up in a situation which would be serving the election on a silver platter to the DFL saying, I guess we don't have someone officially on the ballot. It would just be a nightmare scenario.
You make a really good point, though, and it's a good reminder and something that I had even forgotten. Even though I've been defending Alex Plekish in this difficult situation he's in, you're right. I mean, his job is to go and essentially cater to, for lack of a better way to describe it, to those endorsed candidates. That being said, we need to have a conversation after this election cycle about the endorsement process again, and I think that's going to be even more clear after Tuesday. But until that happens, you're right. This is the job that Plekish, needs to do, and he's right to go and address these issues and concerns.
I will just say, like, in Mike Lindell's defense on this whole thing, it's a year before the general election, meaning that you would have had to have been a Minnesota resident since November of last year. And I think at that point, he'd almost been already campaigning for governor.
Okay.
So it's one of those things where it's not like you had needed to live here since last August. My understanding of the law is that you need to be a resident of Minnesota at least a year prior. And then there was the attack on him that talked about basically not being a registered voter in Minnesota. Well, in Minnesota, you get to register the day of, all the time. I mean, in some cases, we probably have people in Minnesota, because our system is so broken and corrupt, that are registering the day after they vote because some DFL candidate needed the votes,
Well, I remember when I first arrived here, because registering to vote in Arizona was a much, much bigger deal than it is
everywhere else.
That it was here. This is one of those moments where when I talked about registering to vote and all that, and I got it, John, here in Minnesota, when it comes to registering to vote, it's not a big deal. I was like, oh, okay, I wasn't. How do you say Wayzata? Right? It was one of those. It was one of those.
Shout out to Christy Noem vacationing in Wayzata, by the way.
You know what?
With her boo.
You are a wise man, because that's actually the next story in my stack and why I brought up Wayzata.
Look at me, I prepped.
That's right. All right, we're going to dive into this. What a weird story, too. But
It's so weird.
I wanted to share it with the Freedom Friday group. We're awaiting the arrival of Katherine Johnson and Grace Keating. But the former Homeland Security Secretary, Christy Noem, was apparently seen riding bicycles with Corey Lewandowski. This apparently has caught the attention of everybody. And there's a line in this Bring Me the News story that's utterly ridiculous. So we'll share this with you coming up in just a moment. I'm going to take a few minutes and check out the Blaster line at 612-584-4565. You can also email john.justice@americanexperiment.org as we get ready to head into hour 2 on a Freedom Friday, and we wait for the rest of our group to join us. Here is a few clips of social media that I've recorded over the past month. We were talking about Keith Ellison and Ron Schutz in the Attorney General's race. Also, there's some commentary here about Governor Tim Walz. So enjoy these clips from social media. You can find me, John, Jon Justice, on TikTok, on Instagram, on Facebook as well. And we're back in just a moment here on the John Justice Show, presented by American Experiment. Minnesota Attorney General Keith Ellison was at an event over the course of the past few days and was asked by a reporter about the allegations that he was aware, along with Governor Tim Walz, of the fraud for years here in Minnesota, specifically focusing on that $8 billion estimated fraud that has taken place here in the state. Listen to his answer, because people are missing a really important point about what the Minnesota Attorney General actually said. Watch.
If you look at, if you ask the newspapers for a forensic accounting, the number you mentioned is tightly identified with people of a very unique political persuasion aligned with the Trump administration. So I'm done talking to you. Bye-bye.
No, I just wanted you to clear up the number. I'm not quoting. I'm quoting several reports.
I get it. It's wrong, though. And if you're a real reporter, you should know.
I will report that you're saying it's wrong.
It is such a lazy, typical leftist tactic to go and answer the question by aligning it with the political opposition, that party, and then not bothering to go and give an answer at all. You see, Attorney General Keith Ellison, if he actually was good at his job, wasn't an activist, he would have known it would have been better to go and point to, there's a difference between the estimates
of the amount of fraud here in Minnesota and the actual tangible numbers of the individuals who have been arrested and tried. There's a difference there. It's absolutely correct. Now, I firmly believe that those $8 billion estimates are true for me personally, but that would have been the professional leadership way to go and answer the question. To say, you're talking about an estimate. There are conflicting sources and conflicting views on what that estimate is, and that estimate is a lot higher than the actual tangible numbers that we know for sure of the amount of money attached to the fraud in Minnesota. Thank you for your time. Walk away. See, was that difficult? Was it? But see, Keith Ellison does know what he's doing because he's feeding his base. You see, his base doesn't want to hear facts or the reality. They simply want to be angry. They just want to hear what they want to hear, and typically that's associated with what the mainstream media tells them on a daily basis, because that's pretty much... So after that George W. Bush appointed judge ridiculously slapped down the subpoenas against Governor Dim Walz, Keith Ellison, Minneapolis Man-Baby Mayor Mom Jean's Jacob Fry in their investigation of encouraging individuals to get in the way of lawful law enforcement of ICE, Governor Dim Walz has now put forward a Freedom of Information request for documentation relating to communications from the Trump administration that mention the words Minnesota Walz, reckoning, retribution, punish, or Democrat. You see, lame duck Dim Walz is going to now try to seek his own revenge against the Trump administration for what he believes was false targeting of the Democrats here in Minnesota with what they did in encouraging individuals armed with only their cell phones to go out and obstruct the lawful law enforcement of immigrations and customs enforcement agents. What's even more ridiculous about this is that we all knew that Governor Walz was never going to be focusing on fraud. When the fraud story exploded earlier this year, a part of the operations of ICE here in Minnesota, he told Republicans that he was going to ride them harder than they've ever been ridden regarding tackling fraud. But what is he more concerned about? He's more concerned about his own political future and seeking his own version of revenge and retribution against the Trump administration for daring to come after him. This is what Marxist communists do. And once again, Governor Dim Walz has proven that he does not care about the people of Minnesota. He only cares about himself and the left-wing extreme political agenda.
It's the John Justice Show, presented by American Experiment, AmericanExperiment.org, as we head into hour 2 on a Freedom Friday. You can reach out to the show, 612-584-4565. That's the Blaster line where you can go and leave us a comment. You can, of course, email as well, john.justice@AmericanExperiment.org, and we will welcome in more individuals on a Freedom Friday. Grace Keating from Center of the American Experiment and the American Experiment Podcast. Good morning. You're back.
Good morning. I am back. First official Freedom Friday back.
Well, thank you so much for coming into work early today. It's much appreciated. We also have, it's weird now because you're just basically at work. I guess we're all at work, I suppose. As opposed to having to go to the studio before. I don't know. Maybe it's just weird to me.
Yeah, you guys are like coworkers.
I know.
Officially.
You know what? That
AK and I are just volunteers.
Bums off the street.
just rolled in.
We also have RNC Committeeman A.K. Kamara, Max Reimer, joining us in studio as well. It wouldn't be a Freedom Friday as of late if we didn't have an update on Horny Her, so we'll get to that in just a moment.
Okay.
Of course, there's another update.
My wife came up with another name, and I'm like, yeah, I'm not using that. There was an hors d'oeuvre. We'll just go that route. That was. I'm trying to be. I can say it on the I can say it on the show we're streaming,
post-show.
but I'd rather not. I think Horny Her fits just fine. The headline in the Star Tribune this morning is absolutely comical, so I'll share that with you guys in just a moment. First off, though, TMZ has obtained footage of Kristi Noem and Corey Lewandowski, previously her top advisor, riding bikes and dining outside in Wayzata on Tuesday afternoon. The longtime rumored couple apparently visited the grocer's table and COV. What is COV?
Cove.
Is Cove. Okay, I thought it was pronounced Cove, but I wasn't 100% sure. What is Cove?
Oh, it's
like a higher end restaurant. I think they do a lot of seafood, right?
Seafoody themed.
Pinkies up.
Really nice.
Little
Yeah,
pinkies
well,
up.
listen,
Right.
if you're riding tandem bikes in Wayzata, we know what your income bracket is.
Oh, is that okay? So that is a very pinkies up sort of situation.
Oh, Wayzata's wonderful, but wonderful spot for vacation. I know the mayor of Wayzata personally, Andrew Mullen, great guy. He's doing a great job. But for Kristi Noem and Corey Lewandowski to be back in Minnesota after,
and I just want to clarify,
everything.
Still the top advisor.
Okay. Still the top advisor.
Still
All
the
right.
top
All right. Noem only recently announced that she and her husband were heading for divorce. This is an article from Bring Me the News. I need to point it out because there's a line in here that makes me laugh. Recently announced that she and her husband were heading for a divorce while Lewandowski still appears to be married. Noem did brush off the speculation that she and Lewandowski are romantically involved as, doing that thing with my fingers, tabloid garbage during a House Judiciary Committee hearing in March. So I don't know. You guys buy into? I think they're just friends hanging out, riding bicycles, going to Cove in the grocer's table, or do you think there's some budding romance happening here?
No one has ever ridden a tandem bike with someone
Okay,
platonically.
I made the tandem bike.
wrong?
I made the tandem bike thing up. I don't know if it was a tandem bike.
Oh.
I just
think
assumed.
that's still vacationing in Wayzata going to Cove together. I don't know.
100%.
That reads very romantic.
great
and
idea.
beautiful.
I think if you just have some perspective, right, and you understand everything that had happened with Noem and her husband's weird predilections of doing, dressing up like a woman and talking to people, doesn't surprise me. Maybe there's some other things where Lewandowski wants to keep things private. Maybe him and his wife are on there. Or maybe they're like a throuple. Who knows, man?
Yeah, there is no confirmation on whether or not this was a tandem bike. If these were big wheels, unicycles. They were just...
Can we just be normal?
Beach bikes.
Can we just find normal people whose spouses are not dressing up as the opposite gender?
Here's the part in the article where Bring Me the News jumps the shark, though, because after the denial, saying it's tabloid garbage, they then write, Wayzata is less than 15 miles from Minneapolis, the city that Noem claimed is extremely dangerous due to its sanctuary policies, which prevent local police from helping out with federal immigration enforcement. What the hell, Bring Me the News? What a completely unnecessary statement to go and make.
Yeah, they're making opinion statements so they can push out, I just love when the corporate media, or in this case, Bring the News, they just support corporate media, when they'll throw in their just little lines to describe what they are viewing as a fact statement. And it's well, clearly anyone that is 15 miles away from Minneapolis, 15 miles away from anything, you could be a hot conflict zone. If you went in Egypt during the uprising of the Muslim Brotherhood, yeah, people were 5 miles away at McDonald's eating burgers when tanks were unleashing on the people. So it's just a dumb point to make.
Something tells me that Metro Surge was not occupying Wayzata, Minnesota.
I mean, maybe the restaurant,
maybe Cove.
Maybe
after a long day's work of getting rid of
man.
criminals, you got to go to Cove. I will just say, to AK's point, the little asides, even in our and it happens a lot in our local media, where it's subject of story, comma, political opinion that everyone accepts, comma, back to the story.
You pretty much hit the nail on the head there.
Well, and I say that because I remember in the 2022 election when Tim Walz basically when I was running the Jensen Burke stuff and we came out with the press conference and it was about Tim Walz' stolen valor, which became a huge story in 2024. Rochelle Olson at the Star Tribune was not an opinion writer at that time, but she wrote a story about the press conference that we did on it. We had Chair Plekish there. We had a number of other veterans to come and say, we don't appreciate that Tim Walz lied about his rank. Well, what was the Star Tribune's headline 2 days in a row? Scott Jensen and Matt Burke, comma, two men who never served, comma, criticized Tim Walz's military experience. So when they say they vetted this story when it blew up in 2024, objectively not true.
We have several comments that have rolled in to the blaster line at 612-584-4565. I want to go back a bit. It is a Freedom Friday as Katherine Johnson makes herself comfortable. Full house. Have we ever had all of us together?
No.
This is the first
We're back,
time?
baby.
We're
So back.
shattering glass ceilings or something.
Well, one of you guys almost got relegated to a rotation because we were talking about Freedom Friday. I suddenly realized it's like I should probably default to always having Catherine and Grace on instead of rotating one of them out since I'm now working with them. But we have enough couch space, so we don't have to worry about it anymore.
You could have been cut. Promotion for us. That's exciting.
I was just going to say.
Good morning.
I see what's happening here.
We had a
Good morning.
we had a caller. We had a talk back, a blast, talking about Mike Lindell, not supporting Mike Lindell. I wanted to make sure that you who have gone and left us a comment, who are supporting Mike Lindell, letting your voice be heard as well to 612-584-4565.
To the caller who said that Mike Lindell is not gubernatorial material because he doesn't sound good, have you looked what you've elected for the last 20 years to the governor's mansion? Good grief.
No, I think okay, yeah, you know what? I'm going to let it. I need to be nice to the individuals who are supporting Mike Lindell. I was going to make a comment, but I will refrain. Let's go and hear from another friend of the show this morning.
While some people think Mike Lindell doesn't sound gubernatorial, I would like to remind the last blaster that Minnesota elected Jesse Ventura. He didn't really sound gubernatorial either. Have a happy Freedom.
Yeah, I don't know. Can you make Mike Lindell? I mean, are there any correlations in your minds of Jesse Ventura's run, him being elected to governor, and Mike Lindell?
Oh, for sure. Yeah, I think so. I mean, you got a guy who's comes from the private sector who is not conventional. Maybe I'll put it that way. And I think he's got kind of a core group of support that, and even like some of the ideas are at least new. What I will just say is, like, no matter who wins on Tuesday, none of us are making the case that this person would be worse than Tim Walz or worse than Amy Klobuchar. You cannot get worse than Tim Walz and Amy Klobuchar. I would rather have no governor. Let's just let it rock for 4 years.
Let it ride.
Instead of having Tim Walz or Amy Klobuchar. These people are terrible, and no matter who comes out on Tuesday, me personally, I'll be knocking doors. I will crawl over glass to vote for any of them because the stakes in Minnesota could not be higher. Amy Klobuchar, this debate at Farm Fest just proved to me that this is just a repeat of Tim Walz. We will get nothing different than we've had since he got elected.
I think the difference is I find Mike Lindell to actually not be a very good communicator. Like, I listen to his interviews and I don't always pick up what he's putting down. And then he releases 82-page documents to try and clarify what he's putting down. And I'm like, well, I'm not going to read 82 pages right now, okay? So I feel like he needs to hit a sweet spot. I don't know that he's got this thing down quite yet because I feel like there are people like Jesse Ventura, I think was a better communicator, although he's a little before my time. I'm just putting that out there. I had a birthday yesterday and I feel kind of old. So
happy birthday to you.
Thank you.
Happy birthday.
Thank you. I'm very old now. Entered a new decade.
What am I then?
A new decade.
I know, exactly. It's exactly the same thing I said to her yesterday. It's like, what are you doing already?
Anyway,
Come on.
I think he might have been a little bit of a better communicator on that level. That's how I would describe it.
Yeah, I think that there's a lot you could criticize Mike Lindell for as a candidate. I think saying that he's not gubernatorial isn't one of them necessarily, because that was one of the biggest critiques of President Trump when he was first running. And I mean, look what happened there.
Yeah, and let me just say this. the thing that is always intriguing that it's hard to quantify is that there is a truth that there is a population of Republicans that are disenfranchised and disengaged. And the question is, can someone like Mike Lindell kind of motivate that base of people versus more of your traditional candidates? Now, I think that Kendall Qualls and Lisa Damath also have the ability to really fire up, again, disengaged voters, which is who we've been targeting as a Republican Party apparatus going back to 2024. That's why we found success. So I think that is what is similar to looking at Jesse Ventura. He got a lot of people that felt like the system, they had tapped out. And then they came back, and he would go on debate stages. And the one thing that Mike Lindell doesn't have is a strong third-party candidate and be like, yeah, let these two just argue it out. They do also have very distinctive voices, right? I can do a Mike Lindell, oh, listen here, which is way better than my Tim Walz impression. Or Jesse Ventura is like, oh, I'll tell you what, guys. And that's my,
those
were both C- impressions.
Those are.
I would say B.
Those are better than your Tim Walz impersonations? Okay. I want to get back to some more blasts that have rolled in. Some people have commented on Christy Nome and Corey Lewandowski riding bicycles together.
Good morning, John. Happy Freedom Friday. Christy Nome being in Wayzata vacationing and getting put on blast on X by all the accounts that allegedly are from Minnesota, and you read their profiles, and it says, you know, welcoming to everybody and kindness is the way, who are all telling her she doesn't belong here, she needs to leave. Especially that Mike Norton guy.
Oh yeah.
The hypocrisy runs deep within the socialists.
Norton is Minnesota or Minneapolis's biggest apologist that I've ever seen. Although he's been really quiet. I haven't seen him online much at all as of late. I'm getting weird looks from everybody. Should I move on from this?
The DSA folks have kind of come for him a little bit.
Oh, really?
So, yeah. So I think there's some of that. The civil war within the DFL is hilarious to me because, you know, just looking at Peggy Flanagan versus Angie Craig, you got Mayor Fry coming out like full-throated for Angie Craig, causing this kind of weird division within the DFL, and I love to see it, man. But yeah, I'm surprised that Mike Norton didn't run into them on his bicycle trips, man.
It is a Freedom Friday, so that means that we will take your on and off-topic comments all morning long to the Blaster line, and I have two different comments that I want to play back-to-back here. First, we'll start here.
Good morning and happy Freedom Friday, everybody. This is Lorenzo from Lakeville. Hey, I've noticed that I have a giant Phil-sized hole in my heart because
That'd be Phil.
All the foes of the shows aren't on. But then I realized that they're not smart enough to get IDs so they can vote. So how could they possibly be smart enough to find your show again? Just a thought. Happy Friday, everybody.
Yeah, there's something really weird going on with the foes because they're out there, they're lurking, but they haven't gone, well, not fully. I have a comment here I'm going to play in just a moment, but they haven't fully engaged in the show. I know they're there, and I'm not going to tell everybody why. I know they're there. I have other reasons to know that the foes are absolutely paying attention. They just haven't chimed in yet. This guy that did, though, so let's go ahead and play this here.
Hi, this is Grant from Champlin.
Hi, Grant.
Hey, yesterday, John, I saw you on YouTube.
Okay.
And I realized that you're just the same as all the other radio personalities.
Okay.
You have no.
Oh, see, it cut off. What? He left me hanging.
I wasn't getting much there.
So what do you think? So let's fill in the gap for him. So what do you think? What do you think he said? He says, "I'm like all the other radio personalities. I have no blank."
Soul.
So Phil. So okay. So AK Kamara goes soul.
I have no soul.
All right. Representative Max Reimer.
You have no core convictions because you speak poorly of Mike Lindell.
Okay. Boy, I feel like Michael Scott being roasted all of a sudden. I totally regret doing this exercise, but I will go ahead and continue with our guest, Grace Keating. I'm like all the other radio hosts. I have no
brain. Your guys' were so good.
John, don't cry. John's crying.
Not maybe the best bit I've ever done. I don't know why I'm most worried about Katherine Johnson on this one. I'm like all other radio personalities. I have no
integrity.
Ooh, really good one.
I'm glad we're sitting on couches here. You know, we just get it out.
It's so funny because of the Freedom Friday crew, I'm going to single out Katherine. You're like the wild card, man. You are so the wild card. I mean, within our group chats, when you're on the show, you just don't know what you're going to get. I love that about all you guys, but I'm just wondering. I just, you should wear that as a badge of honor.
I like to keep people on their toes, you know?
Okay. All right. Let's go back to the blaster line. Hear from another friend of the show.
I don't know if Mike Lindell can win or not, but I have to give the man props. He spent his own fortune for this country to try to secure the elections. He believes in this country. He is a patriot.
No doubt.
And therefore, he has my vote if he's the winner of the primary.
Hey, and
thank you. Have a good Friday.
What I'll say to that is that when I observe and I've listened to Mike Lindell, and it's been that way for a while. I remember when I was on the RNC, he was like the master of ceremonies or whatever you call it at the convention, and all of his convictions come from a genuine place. And something funny is
yeah.
Go.
No, keep going. Keep going. Sorry.
Being in this format in the studio, you can see everyone's
I know.
reactions.
I couldn't just finish your thought, and I'll clue everybody in. So just finish your thought. I apologize.
I was just gonna say his convictions come from a genuine place. I think he really cares, and at the end of the day, again, if he comes out in the primary, I'll support him.
Yeah, and putting yourself on the line like he did is absolutely what we need to see from people and leaders. We have too many cowards for sure in our culture and in our politics today, people who hide behind, well, I can't do anything to disrupt my career or things like that. So I absolutely applaud people who are willing to go out there and take a stand no matter what it costs.
And he put $80 million of his own money going back, and you can say it was dumb money spent going back to 2020 to be able to show that the American people were robbed. And $80 million is a lot of money to put up for anyone. So the man has convictions. Like you can't say that he doesn't do that, regardless of if you think it was the right decision to make or not. That you can't say that he is not a man that puts his money where his mouth is.
So first off, my apologies for disrupting everybody's commentary because I was laughing over here. The listener, Grant, left another blast.
Oh, okay.
So he's completed his sentence.
Okay. All right.
Let's see who's closest.
Any of us?
This is such typical fashion for me. I'll explain in just a moment, but here's Grant again.
Hey, John. It's Grant from Champlin. Hey, I saw you on YouTube yesterday for the first time, and I'm sorry to say this, but you do not have any integrity. You do not sound like you look or look like you sound.
He said, I do not sound like I look or look like I sound.
Okay.
Is that the meaning
And
of
that proves
integrity?
you don't have integrity?
Like maybe digital integrity?
so.
Maybe he thinks that you're AI, like you're.
I have
like,
no
poor
idea.
resolution.
Yeah, I don't know. That was weird.
John's like, is it something about my face?
Yeah. Well, it was
That
like.
felt so personal.
Yeah, I was like, yeah, he left it twice. So you have no integrity at all. You do not look like you sound or sound like you look. I don't know what a weird combination.
But you're like every other radio host.
Okay.
So he thinks every other radio host has no integrity and doesn't look like they sound. Is that what I'm getting out of this?
Yeah, that's what it sounds like.
What is John supposed to do on the radio?
Seriously.
When he was on the radio, he's supposed to be like, yeah, I'm like a middle-aged guy. I have dark hair. There's a little salt and pepper thing going on. I wear glasses.
Yeah, what is...
Disclaimer.
What was the expectation?
I need you to know what I look like.
Maybe he thinks that all radio people sound like they're like very masculine or very feminine and they're like the ideal perfect person. And then he turns on YouTube and goes, oh.
The next talk back
like a normal guy.
or the next blast is going to be like, hey, I didn't know AK was black.
Right. I'm like, he has no integrity. He sounds like a white guy.
Very weird. Grant from Champlin, if you want to leave a further comment to clarify, I'm genuinely curious. So I don't know what that, I mean, I've heard a lot of weird things. I don't understand.
I want to hear what he thought you looked like.
I don't
Isn't
know.
that? Isn't it?
What am I supposed to? What am I supposed to look like?
I don't know.
Based off my
I
voice.
don't know, but shout out to Catherine for nailing it.
Yeah, way to go.
you.
Way to go.
That was impressive.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Hold on. He's back. We'll go
Here we
ahead.
go.
We'll go ahead. He's
Bring
back.
him on
He's-
the
he's-
This is the champion show
He's
today.
back already.
Hello, this is Grant from Champlin.
Yeah, hey, Grant.
Catherine had it. It's integrity because you do not sound like you look or look like you sound.
I don't understand that. What does he mean? How is that? I don't think you know what that word means.
I do not think you know what you say. What,
Yeah.
that's not what that means.
I think you keep using that word, but you don't know what it means.
Yes.
That's not.
John, you never told us what you looked like.
How
I
dare
hate
you?
this show.
How dare you?
Is it consistency? Maybe that's what he's looking for. You have no consistency. You don't look like I think you should sound. That's very subjective, though.
Maybe he needs to say you have no integrity and you don't look like how you sound.
Yeah, that I'll give it to
Okay,
you. Fine.
yeah.
If you want to say I don't have
A little
any integrity.
semicolon in there.
Semicolon,
Yes.
comma, something.
But he
Yeah.
said because.
But even
Did he say because?
yeah, he did say.
Oh,
He said
okay.
I don't have any integrity because I don't look that way.
In that second one.
Okay.
You gave him way too much credit with the semicolon.
All right. I'm giving him way too much airtime at this point in time here on
Just
the
get him a
show.
chair.
Hey, John. Vicky from Forest Lake.
Okay.
It was nice to meet you at the Capitol a while back. I just heard that guy say that you had no integrity, don't look like you sound or sound like you look. He must be visiting too many dating sites. Have a great day.
You know, maybe it is.
You catfished me, John.
Yeah, hey, there it is. That might be it.
Okay, so I wonder what. We're spending way too much time on this, but I'm fascinated now. So I wonder if he was watching a recent show or if it was an older show where I was wearing like a printed T-shirt. Or like I'm not wearing a suit. Like when I started doing talk radio, I was wearing suits the first week until Drew, may he rest in peace, was like, do you ever wear suits? And I go, no. He's like, yeah, I can tell. You don't need to wear suits coming into work. I just thought it was something that conservative talk show hosts had to do. You had to dress a certain way.
wow.
So maybe the expectation is I'm supposed to be sitting here in a blazer or something.
Yeah, or like a little bow tie.
Or a little bow tie.
Too much credit being given here to his
All
train
right.
of thought.
All right.
Wait, did you even have cameras at that point
When
you showed up in a suit?
No.
Why were you in a suit?
I just thought that's what I thought. I thought that conservative news talk show hosts.
Have you ever
back
seen
in-
Step Brothers? He wore a tuxedo every day
Back
to
in
work.
2008, I thought, you know what? I need to present myself in a professional way.
Wow.
I actually still have that suit for crying out loud.
So here's the thing. I actually think that the idea that you dress professionally, you'll act more professional is stupid. I disagree with it. People to this day are like, you know, I work for an insurance agency. Shout out to that insurance agency. But they're like, oh, we
Shout
have
out to that
That
one.
nameless
Well,
insurance.
okay. I just don't want all the haters to go there and mess everything up. But here's the thing. They're like, we have a dress code that's like whatever. And on Fridays, we get to wear jeans. And people get so amped up over it. And I'm like, what if we wore jeans every day? We could then be amped up every day. So the idea that you dress professionally, you'll act more professional, I think is stupid. And I think that if I rock this every day, I could still sell all the insurances.
Well, you know
no
what?
shorts. No shorts in the workplace. That's my only line.
No shorts?
You guys are no shorts in the
Great
workplace.
violation.
No.
For men. Also, I mean, I guess women, but women skirts,
As
whatever.
two men wearing
No
shorts here.
Shorts. Okay, no shorts in the workplace.
I didn't even
Unless
notice
you're
until right now.
Working in the garden, you should not be wearing shorts as a man.
Why?
On an airplane, no shorts. That's an especially bad.
I feel attacked right now.
I mean, men in shorts. I'm just telling
how
you.
am I going to show off these ripped quads that I have?
I called it, by the way. Catherine, wild card.
Very wild card.
Telling you.
It's one of my least favorite things. Like if you just had on like get yourself a slick pant. Like it doesn't even have to be cooling
I
material.
want my legs to be cooled.
Look at like the professional golfers. They're all out there in 100-degree heat in the pant, but it's got a slick kind of movement to it.
I think it depends on the short. I think if you're wearing like nice shorts and it's warm outside, I think that I'm okay with that.
I'm coming in my jorts next week.
Yeah, no, I'm coming up. In,
I'm wearing joggers today
I'm wearing
for
a
crying out
banana
loud,
hammock
so-
next Freedom Friday.
It's like,
No, you're not.
Please don't.
We've committed to this bit. I don't know if you guys are interested, but Grant is back.
Yes.
Why not?
Yes.
Freedom
So this
Friday.
is Grant from Champlin again. Well, I'm I'm just kind of being a little unfair to John. See, I always get a mental picture of somebody on the radio.
Okay.
My mental picture of John is that he's about 35 years old and with long, with nice flowing hair and stuff like that.
I'm sorry, what?
And you don't look like that when I saw you on YouTube.
He pictured me 35 with long flowing hair.
He's not Scott Pressler or whatever that guy's name is.
That's
back there.
amazing.
His subjective interpretation determines integrity.
That is still
amazing. This is
because I have this idea of what you look like and you don't look like it. You have no integrity.
You've betrayed me.
That is so
Can someone
funny.
like AI generate this image of what he's picturing you as
Yeah,
in your
30
set? Because I would be so grateful.
A 35-year-old John Justice with long flowing hair.
Did he say he said blonde, right? Did I make that
No,
up?
he long.
Oh, I thought he said long blonde. Oh, okay.
No.
Yeah,
Let me.
still.
Oh, you know. No, hold on. Let me
Yeah,
double check it. Let me.
Make it blonde just for fun.
No,
whoever's generating
no. He said long with nice flowing hair. So he actually added
hockey hair.
It's nice hair.
Nice flowing hair.
John,
Yeah.
did you ever have long hair? I feel like you could have gone through a long hair phase.
I did, but unfortunately, it starts to go up as I grew it out. My hair was very thick and full, so as it grew, it would start to curl, and so it wouldn't drop. Like I suppose if I continued to grow it out, it would have.
John looking like little Debbie when he grows his hair out.
Yeah, there was a brief moment in time when I started to grow it out, and it just got too thick and full, and I couldn't handle it. I had a mullet for a little while too. I have some photographs of that.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, I had the mullet for a bit.
little while too.
Yeah.
You guys.
Yeah, my son Kyle's growing his hair out right now, and I just sympathize with him because I was in that phase at some point in time, and he's in that awkward spot where it's just kind of all over the place. So
Well, did you tell him about your experience? I mean, maybe it's genetic.
I did. I told him. He didn't care. He's still moving forward. He's going to commit
good
to
for
it.
him.
Yeah, I know. I respect it. You know who I don't respect is Horny Her. Let's go here. So this is the headline out of the Star Tribune this morning on the latest update on the sexual harassment claims against the St. Paul mayor. The Strib writes this morning, sexual harassment or personality clash, ? Callie Her allegations raise legal political questions. The claims have sparked questions about workplace culture, intent, and the relationship between City Hall and the police department. Did you guys hear that Rochelle Olson editorial that she did yesterday? That was one of the, listen, I know there's bias. I expect there to be bias. I'm not surprised by it. And then there are other levels of bias. And that piece from Rochelle Olson trying to go and say, we need to wait for all the evidence to come in, while subsequently slamming the St. Paul police chief, was one of the most ridiculous editorials that I think I've read in a year.
Chris Maddle had an excellent thread take.
It was fantastic.
He went so hard in the paint, man. Like he literally recreated that image and then put her face on it. And he's like, he went in. It was fantastic. Go and check that out. Chris Maddle on X.
The latest coming from Channel 5. It says it looks like the investigation itself is not complete, because apparently there was some expectation that the investigation was going to be over by now. It's not complete yet based on an email from Resolute Law Firm who's doing the work. The email was in response to a KSTP question about a timeline for the report on the investigation. Resolute said the investigation is still pending and our report has not been issued yet. But the early contract made it clear the city was looking for quick results. Why it's taking so long, they say it might have to do with Police Chief Axel Henry's request for what he called the full data extraction from her phone. So apparently they are moving forward to try to pull all the information from her phone to further solidify the allegations from the police chief. But as I said from the get-go, her initial reaction, even though she's remained silent in some public appearances over the course of the past week, you know, she didn't deny the allegation. She basically just said that people don't get my sense of humor, which to me, unless I'm wrong, that seemed like an admission of what everything had been put forward so far, saying she chalked it up to being a joke.
And all of this is undergirded by the fact that there was a story a couple weeks ago. I said it last week on air, but St. Paul is also facing like a $25 million budget deficit as this all happens. So governing, it's one of the things where you get what you vote for. I get that. I can't help but feel bad of citizens of Minneapolis and now St. Paul, because it's like, as this stuff happens where we're talking about sexual misconduct in the office, it's like, that's what we're focusing on, even though your city has been totally mismanaged. for decades. And again, you get what you vote for, but I can't help but feel bad for the people who are being just not served at all.
Yeah, no, it's
by these governments.
The whole thing. I mean, the whole thing is a mess. I mean, the whole thing is an absolute mess. And there might be, you know, the frustration stemming between the St. Paul police chief and her beyond the allegations. And there's a possibility that he may have left those alone if it wasn't for those controversies. That being said, if the things that her has been if those claims end up being true, she's clearly shouldn't be serving in a position of power. Normal people do not go and act that way. Oh, yeah. I got a him and haw from the wild card over there.
I don't know. I feel like it's a little overblown. Also, if I say an inappropriate joke in the workplace and someone tries to extract my phone, God help us all. Like, over my dead body. Are you kidding me? That's insane.
So here's the thing, though, right? So last week, when you couple it with the information that I kind of already had privy information to, and then you see her statements that essentially corroborate, she's so delusional. She thinks that she's so attractive that people just can't resist her hotness. And that, to me, is probably one of the most insane positions to hold, that she's just like this sexual magnet to everyone. And she's just being funny, but they all mistake that her being funny is like them, you know, just showing that they can't handle her hotness. They can't be in proximity to her.
Here's my theory on that. I have a theory on this. Okay. So I used to have, you guys are all probably too young, but when I say 976 numbers, you know what I'm talking about? When I say nobody has any idea what I'm talking about. Okay.
Is that like 1-900 numbers?
Yes.
Like where you pay
Right.
for the number that you're calling?
Okay. So does that make
So sex lines.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm driving at.
yeah.
So they used to be 976 numbers, okay? And they were sex lines, okay? You guys could call, you know, talk to a woman, get their freak on, and all this kind of stuff. I used to make the joke that it was always guys calling women for the sex lines. There was never sex lines set up for women to call men, because most women, and I'm going back and showing my age, but most women could go into a phone book, make I'm going to say 5 phone calls, and probably one of those 5, you could probably get that guy to talk dirty to you.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Because guys are just that creepy and weird, right? That's why there was never any need to have those types of phone sex services for women, because women can just go, you know, just start talking to a dude. So here's my theory. My theory is the allegations, for the sake of argument, right? If they're true, I think that she just expresses herself so openly to dudes that I think dudes automatically think she seems good to go. I think it's how she's presenting herself to guys. So I think there's truth when she says these people are just falling in love with me. But I think it has more to do with how she is interacting with men, you know, leading them on to believe that, than it is, you know, dudes that are just attracted to her at face value. That's my theory.
I think that's a good theory. I think the other like kind of elephant in the room is that obviously
I've lost
think
Grace.
These
I'm sorry.
so far off the rails. It's different for men and women, okay? I don't think that necessarily the same standard should be in place for men and women's behavior in the workplace. I think it's obvious that women are not, it's not the same as a man doing that to a woman. Do you guys agree or disagree? I'm getting a really weird look from Matt.
I think we need some clarification. You should go down this road. Can you refine your
ass slap? Excuse me, but the slap.
You can say that on this show. We're okay.
Woman to woman or man? What was the situation?
So it was woman to man in this scenario.
Better than man to woman for sure.
Better.
Yeah.
Now,
but still not okay. Like if you're in a position of power.
I would be deeply uncomfortable if Kali Her, who I served with at the house, I walked by and she slapped my butt. Like,
here's what I will say though.
Better though.
If Kali Her was, I would say, a 6'7" or better.
6'7",
6'7" or better.
6'7".
No one would care. Okay. If every day I came to work and Christina Aguilera is like next to my wife, so Schmoopy, Christina Aguilera, there on par with each other. Okay.
Interesting.
If Christina Aguilera was my coworker, she was my coworker, and every day she slapped me on the tuchus as I walked in, I would never complain. If she told me,
kind of my point.
If she told me, like, you know, she was texting me and said it's Wiener Wednesday, I hope you have a good wienering, I would laugh. But if Kali Hurd did the same, I would go to HR.
Okay. All right. Hold on. I want to get back to, because there's a facet of Catherine's analogy here that I want to dive into. Before I do that, though, what era of Christina Aguilera? That's
All of
early
them.
2000s.
All of them.
Okay.
Early 2000s.
She's my hall pass.
Okay. I'm kind of with Max. I'm going like the dirty era for Christina Aguilera.
Yes.
We'll just yeah.
I mean, that's where I fell in love.
Yeah. You don't want to go too far back. Get Genie in the bottle. Now you're going to look at handcuffs. You got to go a little bit further than that.
Based off my age.
Okay.
Yes.
I'll give it to you.
Age appropriate because I think we're the same age.
So, Catherine, what you're tapping into is very similar to the way that society goes. And I'm going to talk about something horrible. I know this. Okay, so I know there's going to be jokes in between. I just want to preface, I know how awful this is. But there is that double standard of how we view the inappropriate conduct when it comes to school teachers and children. When it's a guy and a female, right, it's always, it's like, it's awful, it's bad because it is.
Yeah.
But when it's a female and a dude, the guy response is always like, wow, I wish I had a teacher like that when I was a kid.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
So
you're
I
not
think that's what
wrong.
you're kind of tapping into.
Yes, it's very similar. The comments on those stories are always hilarious. Like, you know, if you go down and read them. But
Right.
I think and it obviously is different. It's different if a male teacher goes after a female underage
They're
student.
both bad in their own right. You
Yeah,
should
they're
not.
both bad.
Older
Both
people
illegal.
should not
You're
be
both
right. They're both
pedophiles,
illegal. You're both
but-
pedophiles. But the way we view it in society is different.
Exactly. And there's a reason for that. And I think that's okay that we view those things differently. And I think it's different in this case as well. And it is better if you're a woman doing these things. It is not as bad as if
I need to
she
use the
were a man.
bathroom. I need to exempt myself from this conversation.
Let's go.
Not everything has to be perfectly equal
It's
in
just a
society because men and women are different.
Okay, what I will just say is this conversation does remind me there's a meme, all right? There's a meme for everything. But the meme that I'm thinking of is the office workplace one where it's like hot guy approaches girl at the in the office and the girl's like, "Oh, hi Chad." And like he's like, "How you doing today?" And then like it's like a bigger guy, an uglier guy, and he's like, "Oh, how you doing?" And she's like, "HR."
Yeah. Well, okay, to your point. You guys, I don't remember the name, but the teacher woman that had a pedophile relationship with a 13-year-old boy, he was like Mexican, and then she went to prison, got out, and then they I think she got pregnant at some point, and then they got married. Like society kind of was like ick, but they still had like tabloids reporting on it. If it was reversed, I don't think that anyone would have ever ran another story.
Probably.
If it was a male teacher and after prison they ended up getting married. Whereas Mary Kay Letourneau, was that her name?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that was her name.
I remember that one.
But like she even had after prison, a convicted pedophile had like, oh yeah, it's Mary Kay Letourneau. They're married. It's fine.
All right, let's.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Can I
no,
just say
go, yeah,
quickly?
please go right
That
ahead.
reminds me of how much leeway was given to that girl who, I hope you guys get this analogy, but the girl who was like abused by her mom and she was told she had cancer and she had all these surgeries
Gypsy
done on her.
Rose.
Gypsy Rose. And she got her boyfriend to stab her a million
Yes.
times. And like that girl has a Hulu show now.
Yes,
Like
it's
the
crazy.
fame and attention and the leeway that is given definitely to women over men.
There's even like a this speaks to a certain level of privilege, okay? Because even when we talk about today, there's this trial happening with Lindsay Clancy, who went through psychosis and killed her 3 kids, and like basically is said, yes, I killed my 3 kids, but I was on all these SSRI medications and postpartum and this kind of thing. You know what the number one like trend on TikTok about this case is right now? Is that she's innocent, her husband never took care of her, and her husband probably did it. That's like the narrative going on right now because we are just so broken mentally as a country.
Well, and TikTok is terrible.
Look, I'm talking about it, and the algorithm is going to show you a video of some
Thank you.
crazed,
Thank you for that, Max.
Yeah.
of some crazed woman
Thanks, dude.
commenting on this being like, well, yeah, she killed her kids, but her husband left
Where
her
was
alone.
he?
Oh.
See, now I have to go search for System of a Down AI 80s songs again. So I came across that
cleanse the
yesterday.
palate.
Was that
No,
to
I-
cleanse the
I
palate?
heard
Well, to
that.
get my
I wanna see it.
algorithm back on track. We do have a lot of comments that have rolled into the blaster line at
boy.
612-584-4565. I think this reference is going to be lost on almost everybody in the room other than me, so let's find out. We'll hear from Angela.
Good morning, guys and dolls. I was picturing Cato Kalin, when the gentleman from Champlin was describing who he pictured John as over there.
So does Kate? No, he's gonna say.
Have a good morning.
No, good morning to you too. So Cato Kalin, does that work on anybody?
Oh, yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
you guys.
No.
So you guys, there's the age gap.
Yeah,
No
yeah.
on Grace. No on Catherine.
Also, KFAN had him on a pretty regular basis too, so it's kind of like in that guy wheelhouse. So
Cato Kalin was the roommate to O.J. Simpson, who was there at the house when Nicole Brown and Ron Goldman were murdered. He was so he was the one where he heard
he was like in the
O.J.
pool house or
he
whatever.
heard O.J.
Yeah.
behind the house when O.J. dropped the glove because O.J. killed them. Everybody knows that O.J. killed him. So even though,
But like
allegedly,
bleach blonde hair, kind of like California guy, like model at the time.
Yep.
That's
Like,
what I was picturing from this
For
guy's
sure.
description.
Yeah.
let's go here.
To AK's point, if Christina Aguilera or Jennifer Aniston from Horrible Bosses is my boss, and they're harassing you that way, I'm putting in overtime. I'm gonna barely be at home. Fooly her, that's a whole nother story.
Yeah.
Human horniness, undefeated, baby.
Yeah. Male, but especially. Yes. It's different.
Getting back to that, though, let's get back to that just really quick, though. She's the mayor of St. Paul. She should not. If these allegations are true, if her talking with the fellow employee about her breasts and talking about her own breasts, if she's making orgasm sounds in front of law enforcement officers, if it was just the Wiener Wednesday thing, maybe you can. But there's a pattern here that is completely inappropriate for somebody that's in her position.
What's the protocol here? Like, I think the people of St. Paul should get to vote again. I don't think they should just kick her out over this. I mean, I don't think it's seriously, I don't think it rises to the level of get her out of here immediately.
But if it was a man doing this wouldn't even be a question. He probably would have been bounced out already. And you
would have resigned in disgrace.
And that's fine. And that's how that's what should have happened.
Right. And I understand the way that society views the differences between harassment of female, harassment for male. But the truth of the matter is they're both committing the same crimes.
Yeah,
it's
but
just
a
how we
double
as a society look at it.
I have a double standard. I don't think that's a bad thing.
I think Catherine's just saying that, like, hey, we have to just like play the cards we're dealt on this and acknowledge what reality is. Like this does not rise to the occasion like it would. You're right. If it was a male mayor, objectively, in the current reality we live in, you're resigning in disgrace. Like that's what would happen. But I guess there are different rules.
We're clearly missing another
female privilege, I guess,
show or podcast opportunity. You're welcome to use this. We can get your own, Catherine's hot takes, and we can get your own sign behind us.
I don't know that it'd be popular.
I think it would be hugely popular.
Hey, you could be like the new like trad, manosphere lady that like comes out.
I don't know if it's even like trad as we think about it. It would be like. Welcome to the Catherine Show, where we talk about loving HOAs and hating space, and it's okay for females to spank in the workplace.
Yes.
Yeah. No. I mean.
All of that's true.
Yes. That's actually pretty trad for a woman.
Sure.
I agree.
And why men shouldn't wear shorts.
And why mention
That too.
that's.
I will not be a guest on your show.
It's okay. It's my husband violates it every day. So it's just
good.
It's a personal belief, kind of deeply held, but I can't do anything. I can't control it. Even in my own house.
Let's go back to the blaster line at 612-584-4565. A lot of comments still rolling in.
Calling old-fashioned, but I think when you go in the workplace, you should be acting professionally, and then more so if you are an elected official, you should be classy, act with decorum. We're not seeing that at all. Kalali Her, you don't know. You've reached so many people. You don't know who you're offending, who you're not offending. Stop it. It's gross.
Yeah, stop it. It's gross. Listen to that caller.
I'm not saying it's
I'm just
good
being
she's
dumb.
doing it. I'm just saying that it's better than if a man was doing it, and the consequences are going to be different and should be different, and that's okay.
Former police chief Brian O'Hara spent 25 years in law enforcement before retiring after leading public safety operations in Newark, New Jersey, and later serving as the police chief here in Minneapolis. I forgot. Why did he get bounced out?
Kind of like
was
the
along
Collie
the
Her
same
thing.
lines,
It was
right?
almost the same, in a sense. Allegedly.
Yeah,
the biggest problem is that he went and then deleted a bunch of messages.
Oh, that's right.
So we'll find out if that's what Collie does too. I think that she probably won't because I think she's taking the Catherine.
Pull the Hillary Clinton and just acid wash your phone.
Right, yeah, don't do that.
Well, the retired Minneapolis police chief found himself back in crisis mode yesterday, not on the streets of Minneapolis or Mill City, but 35,000 feet in the air. And what should have been a routine flight on United Airlines suddenly turned chaotic.
Oh, boy.
The former police chief told Fox News that he watched a flight attendant spend nearly 45 minutes trying to de-escalate an increasingly belligerent passenger, prompting him and two off-duty Bergen County, New Jersey sheriff deputies to intervene. They were heading from New Jersey to Fort Lauderdale, Florida, and apparently this guy they were 45 minutes into the flight. The flight attendants came over and said they were having difficulty dealing with this guy, and so they rushed in to help out. I'm just surprised. I mean, I don't know how big the other dudes were. Brian O'Hara was a big dude.
Yeah, him and his wife are both super yoked. So I was hoping that the story was that him and his wife subdued because, like, she probably, I mean, she's got guns, man. You guys have seen that photo that I put in our group chat. She is jacked.
The dude apparently became increasingly agitated when the attendants refused to serve him more alcohol.
Oh, dear.
A detail that O'Hara said he learned from the Broward County Sheriff's Office after the arrest. The man reportedly continued shouting profanities and making threatening remarks before the encounter turned physical. Man, you've got to just be hammered if you're going to get to that level.
100%.
Especially on a plane. I mean, you start committing felonies when you start doing that stuff on an airline.
And I don't think I've ever been in a situation like that's being described on this flight, but I have certainly been on enough flights where it's like this person's voice is being raised. And I am uncomfortable with that.
Usually that's me on a flight when I'm talking to the person next to me because I'm terrified that I'm on this flight and I'm talking loud and trying to take my attention off the plane rocking back and forth because I hate to fly. And it also answers the question of whether or not O'Hara actually knows how to protect people, so that's good news.
That's good, yeah.
Yeah, but
I wonder if he used the proper techniques that were taught.
Yeah, I mean, he might have used the
police department.
You know, the MRT and you know had with his knee on the back of his neck.
All right, as we head into hour 3 here on the John Justice Show, presented by American Experiment on a Freedom Friday, we have wild card Katherine Johnson, we have Grace Keating, we have Representative Max Reimer, and A.K. Kamara. Coming up, flock cameras across Minnesota are being vandalized in response to data privacy concerns. There's an interesting little twist in the story that I'm curious to get your take on. Also, from the Star Tribune, Minnesotans are failing driver's license tests at levels not seen in years. Now, this is prompting a question, and it's another question that we'll ask next hour of, have people forgotten, don't answer yet, have people forgotten the rules of the road, or are they just simply ignoring the rules of the road? We'll get the opinion of our Freedom Friday guests coming up in just a moment on the show. Now, here is some commentary that you might have missed, but you can certainly check out at AmericanExperiment.org or on the Center of the American Experiment YouTube page. This is actually a couple of clips of a conversation that both Grace and Katherine had with one of the lawyers from the Upper Midwest Law Center here on the John Justice Show, presented by American Experiment.
Think about it. Now that school's out for the summer, how are Minnesota students doing? Not very well. Minnesota ACT scores fell again last year and are the lowest they've been in 10 years. In fact, fewer than half of Minnesota students can either read or do math at grade level. Think about it. We used to brag about our schools. Now we're losing to states like Mississippi. Visit AmericanExperiment.org for more information. Think About It is brought to you by Center of the American Experiment, Minnesota's think tank.
There is certainly a culture at the city council and at the mayor's office, again, over the last 10 years, that has just not been willing to hire police officers. And we have seen rhetoric and action that has very much been about defunding the police. We filed a petition called a writ of mandamus, which is basically a Latin word for we command, where we're asking the court to hold the mayor to his duty and hire those police officers. And we have tried to detail in our court papers the real world effect this has on people, including our brave clients who've come forward and put their name on court papers and who've experienced everything from bullet holes in their houses to family members who've been struck by a vehicle in a hit and run, never solved, to personal vandalism at their homes and property where they've had property stolen, to murder in their neighborhoods where they don't feel safe, they don't feel protected, they literally feel they cannot go out at night. Because we challenged it on behalf of the Minnesota Gun Owners Caucus, and we said this is a violation of the single subject and title clause of the Minnesota Constitution. We are challenging this one section on behalf of our clients, the binary trigger clause, which had to do with how you define a trigger that can, with one pull, fire off multiple shots.
And that's just mashed into this 1,400 page thing, right?
Yes, that covers everything from health, higher education, firearms, energy, agriculture, human services, health, and paid leave. Not a single subject. The court in August of 2025 struck down the bill and severed basically one provision relating to the binary triggers. Judge Castro had some interesting words for this, and he said, out of respect for precedent favoring severance, I'm just going to strike down the binary trigger amendment. But then he says, quote, make no mistake, during the late hours of May 19, 2024, lawmaking did not occur within the framework of the Constitution. This court respectfully suggests that if there has ever been a bill without a common theme and where all bounds of reason and restraint seem to have been abandoned, this is it.
Think about it. Minnesota has always been a low crime state. But according to the most recent Bureau of Criminal Apprehension data, we are now above the national average when it comes to Part 1 crimes, a category that includes crimes like murder, assault, rape, and carjackings. Think about it. Minnesota is now a high crime state. Visit highcrimemn.com to learn more. Think About It is brought to you by Center of the American Experiment, Minnesota's think tank.
Heading into hour 3 here on the John Justice Show on a Freedom Friday presented by Center of the American Experiment. Remember, if you head on over to americanexperiment.org, you go to my page, there's a pop-up window that comes up. You can find the link to listen there, also on the MixLR app. You can watch at MN Think Tank on X, also YouTube and Facebook. But you go to my page and you scroll to the bottom, make a donation to American Experiment and get yourself an embroidered hat, which you can see if you happen to be watching the stream. People are it's so great because people have been sending me photos of their receiving of the hat. You can also get a mug on the merchandise page on the homepage at americanexperiment.org. Click the About link in the upper left-hand side, and you'll find the merch page. And there, you can also find the John Justice logo, the logoed mugs, and we are working on even more merchandise. So that'll be up. We have a timeline on any of that? I know we were working on some plans and ideas, Catherine Johnson, but do we have any thought on that, or
Soon.
You can make something up. That's fine.
Soon. I'm going up north for part of next week, so that is cutting into my merch ability. But soon, within the next 2 weeks, let's say.
Okay.
That's my goal.
Awesome. So head on over to americanexperiment.org. Take advantage of that, and the writings of the policy fellows here. There's a lot of great articles that are up there right now. I've been watching this kind of unfold and haven't commented much on the show so far. There's an interesting little tidbit in this story that I want to share with you with our guests today. We do have RNC Committeeman A.K. Camaro, Representative Max Reimer, and Grace Keating and Catherine Johnson from American Experiment. But flock of cameras here in Minnesota are being vandalized, according to the story, due to data privacy concerns, with reports of damage and theft in several cities. Authorities emphasize the camera's importance in crime fighting while addressing concerns about data sharing and retention. Despite the vandalism, most departments are working to replace the damaged or stolen cameras. So these flock of cameras are license plate readers. And what's interesting to me is that I've been seeing commentary from a lot of conservative accounts pushing back on these flock cameras. However, in the story, they get into the details of where they've been vandalized, where at, and what locations, how much it costs to replace them. But then they also say this One of the law enforcement officers says, I think the attention came to this because there was a perception that there were a lot of agencies sharing the license plate reader data with immigration officials. So near France Avenue and the flock camera that was damaged there was graffiti that was sprayed on the sidewalk that said a flock equals ICE. So I've seen, again, I've seen a lot of privacy concerns coming from conservatives over this. However, you know, conservatives don't tend to go and do public damage to stuff like this. And so this makes more sense to me because I was wondering who is actually damaging these flock cameras based off of the anecdotal evidence that I'd seen of essentially friends of the show upset with this. But it appears that the damage may be coming from individuals on the left that believe this is associated with Operation Metro Surge. So I'm curious to get your guys' just thoughts in general on these flock cameras.
Yeah, so I listen, I think when there's something that everyone hates, then everyone that has their own political agenda is going to express why they dislike this thing. I think in Minnesota, shout out to Cicero MN on X. He has been on this, on like doing internet just like tirades about how awful flock is. I'm kind of more libertarian on this issue where I'm like, listen, you give the government all this power to do these things, then bad things are going to happen, where you've already seen a couple of stories that went viral where they used flock camera data to go and actually arrest a woman. And they were like, you did this thing. You were stealing this thing. I think it was like packages, Amazon packages. She's like, no, I wasn't. And they're like, we actually have information. We literally have a warrant for your arrest. She had to fight to actually clear her name. And she was able to do it because she was able to prove that I literally wasn't there. And she didn't get like a formal apology. And you're starting to see more of these anecdotal stories, even with like geofencing, where someone was running past a house, jogging a routine, and they're like, yeah, this person was murdered here, and your phone was near the area. And it's like literally no DNA. So I just think that the flock cameras running the license plate readers can be abused. I'm more like, let's do old school policeman work, I guess. And I think make it less easy for the government to use their authoritarian bend, because like, make no mistake, if right now the left's in charge, they're going to use it to do things that the right doesn't like. And if the right's in charge, they're going to do things that the left doesn't like. So, you know, I just think that we can still go and do mass deportations. But if you said this to me, if we don't have flock cameras, we can't do mass deportations, then I'd probably be in favor of flock cameras.
What do they do right now? Like, what is the purpose?
What, the flock cameras?
Yeah, I'm not super up to date
Okay,
on this.
so let me get into the story. They say it's an expensive technology. The camera device itself is worth $3,000 to $4,000. The pole that it goes on is expensive, and that's just an added expense to the taxpayers. The cameras themselves are just their license plate readers, so they can quickly scan the license plate of the cars that go and drive past, as opposed to your typical red light cameras that are taking pictures of the individuals in the cars. These are actual high tech. And I think there's some AI involved in this as well.
Yeah.
License plate readers to capture the information.
So you
of the
can
car.
get speeding tickets and traffic violations.
Yeah.
Okay, they're trying to get speeders.
So, well, no, that's not how they're being used, right? The pitch for how they're being used, and municipalities are making these decisions to opt into this program. The pitch is for these flock cameras is that you want continuity of investigation. So if somebody commits a heinous crime in Minneapolis, and then they drive north to North Branch, right? Conceivably, it'd be hard to track that person or their movement if you didn't have flock cameras. This is not my belief. This is the pitch of flock cameras.
Okay, so like if you're a senator in the legislature and you decide
spank someone
or you decide to drive in the dead of night north to your stepmother's home,
to burglar
for a welfare check,
yep.
right? Okay,
and it would you would capture this random senator's license plate coming out of Woodbury and know that they got off somewhere in a different county because the flock camera captured their license plate. So what the pitch is that this helps different local police departments collaborate on the movement of criminals. My understanding is they're not being used for speeding tickets and things of that nature, but it does open up this can of worms where when you have this information on people that you did not have like necessarily a warrant for or that they could just freely use, people have concerns about, am I being proactively tracked? Am I being made a criminal when I'm not one?
And I think Republicans got to get smart on this issue. Right now, you have different factions. You have the libertarian right and you have the justice left, and they're coming together for one opinion on this issue. And I'm hoping that you see cities respond to this and be like, we were doing policing pretty well before we had flock cameras. I look at this issue as an easy one for people who believe in individual rights. I do not think that we should have this mass adoption of flock cameras across everywhere. If for no other reason that it's a private company with all of your data that you did not opt in to give them. It's that issue and it's data centers. Those two issues Republicans got to get smart on right now because they're both deeply unpopular. They are political suicide as far as I'm concerned.
The executive director of the Minnesota Chief of Police Association and others involved in this, they say the department does not share the license plate data, that the information is restricted to local police departments and the BCA. They also went on to say that Plymouth Police delete any data after 30 days, which is half the duration required by the state. They went on to say, I hear a lot of concerns about data privacy and the feeling people are being tracked by the cameras. And we're just not seeing that experience in Plymouth, he says. We utilize this strictly for our own criminal, I think to what you were saying, Max, to our own criminal investigations and have extensive audit trails. We back that up or look at that almost on a daily basis to make sure that they're being used properly. Most departments will tell you they're working to replace the broken or stolen cameras. And so we haven't put this through the court constitutional test like we have with the red light cameras and whatnot. We haven't done that with the flock cameras yet. Okay.
We have not. So there'll most certainly be legal challenges and things of that nature. But at the end of the day, I'm with AK where I don't want to take tools away from law enforcement, right? But I tend to think that investigations were going just fine without making everybody a criminal, which is what everybody is made to feel when you have these flock cameras going up everywhere. Now, it doesn't excuse going and chopping them down. I don't think that is the best solution. Nope. But what I will say is that from a politics...
don't vandalize people.
Don't vandalize.
Don't commit crimes to stop what you don't like.
Hold on, and sorry to cut you off, just really quick. Catherine, do you have a different take on this?
Ooh.
No.
Okay,
Actually,
all right.
I think I agree. I wasn't super familiar with this coming in, but it does sound like, in my limited experience with criminals, they are always slapping new license plates on their cars, dummy license plates.
A lot of slapping from you this morning.
I know. I mean that.
that was a good motion there. Just slapping them on the car.
Slapping them on the car. And so this does seem like it's more effective in tracking law-abiding citizens than the people committing crimes because, they'll just put a dummy license plate on there, and then the cops are like, oh, we've been foiled.
Yeah, it's like dummy license plates, and then I'm seeing online on social media, certain invisible spray paint you can put on your license plate too.
Extra.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, they already. I think a lot of states have already banned. There's a cover you can put on your license plate to keep it from being able to be read or filmed. Grace Keating, any hard opinions either way on this? If you found out that you were flocked by a camera.
No, I don't have strong opinions.
Probably shouldn't word it that way. My apologies.
That phrasing. These cameras, though, no, I don't know enough about the issue. I'll say that up front. To me, this does not seem like the biggest deal in the world. I don't know. I feel like we live in such a surveillance state already. This doesn't make me, cry out with outrage of my personal liberties are being trampled on to the point of people being wrongfully connected with crimes. That can happen in any case, regardless of whether there's cameras tracking license plates. So, but again, I don't know this technology well enough. I'm sure we've talked about them already this morning, the very good arguments against them, but I don't have an instinctual gut reaction against it.
We have a lot of comments that have rolled into the Blaster line. Again, 612-584-4565. Let's go ahead and start here. I believe that he may disagree a bit with Max Reimer, Representative Max Reimer. Let's see what he has to say.
Good morning, John and gang. This is Brian from North Ranch. I have to disagree with Max about the cameras. You have no expectation of privacy on a public road. Look at all the cameras that are on all the businesses that capture all the data wherever you're at anyway. Not to mention the fact that your cell phone tracks you wherever you go, even if you turn off tracks. It's just, to me, it's an argument about nothing. They use it to help catch the bad guys. Are there mistakes? Sure. Does it suck that there are mistakes? Yeah. But I think it's a great tool for police to help solve crimes.
Max, any thoughts?
Well, shout out to North Branch. I hope I still have that young man's support, even though we may disagree on this issue. No, I would just say, like, public roadways, there is a point to be had there for sure. What I think the contention is that even if a city or a municipality says we are using this for a very limited purpose, you're outsourcing that data to a private company. So even though you say you're holding it for 30 days, for instance, we really don't know what Flock is doing with some of that data. We don't know what individual contracts look like.
Yeah.
And we don't know what that data is being fed into in other ways. I think there's too many unanswered questions, and it has moved so quickly at this point, like where you're just seeing mass adoption of these cameras cities by cities. And I think we need to slow our roll a little bit.
It does remind me of the Ring cameras a little bit, like on people's houses when they were trying to find Savannah Guthrie's mother. They were able to dig really deep in their databases and find all the footage.
Exactly.
And that was a good situation. I'm glad they were able to do that, but it did make you stop and think, so this private company has all of the footage, everything that's ever happened in front of my house, and can dig it out at any time and give it to the police. That's interesting.
Well, and to AK's point, right? What does a criminal look like if the Democrats get full power again? What are they going to utilize it for? It's
hate
hard
to think in those terms, but you're right.
It's hard for me to come out in support of Flock cameras and yet oppose Tim Walz's COVID snitch line when he implemented that, right? Because at the time, if you had a backyard barbecue, you were deemed a criminal, all right? So it's a slippery slope here. I don't want COVID snitch lines, and I don't want a proactive tracking device that makes everybody criminal without a warrant. That's what I'll say.
I've long often said that there, and it's not just me, it's not my original thought, but there's always a trade-off in society for safety, right, and liberty. Like, there is a trade-off somewhere in that equation, because you could technically say, if we made the most intrusive data collection information, we hypothetically could track every single person that ever commits a crime, but then everyone is basically committing a crime at some point. Or you can just kind of make it look like everyone's committing a crime. It's like, show me the man and I will show you the crime. So I think that there is a trade-off somewhere in there. And oftentimes you'll hear someone say, well, don't you want criminals to be caught? I'm like, yes. If we lived in a system where only criminals ever got caught, and if innocent people, again, go back to, the Blackstone formulation, is it better for one innocent man to be thrown in jail and 10 innocent men to go free? 10 guilty men to go free? Or do we have a system that says you are innocent until proven guilty beyond a reasonable doubt? So this is this tension that exists. And I don't know if AI and things like that are just going to make it a moot point where it's like, well, too bad there's all the data and everyone's, I guess, guilty if you can prove it.
We have an incredibly smart audience, and we have our fair share of really intelligent lawyers that listen to the show.
Okay, all right.
Not just a lawyer extraordinaire, Jeff O'Brien, but also James Dickey, who has left us a comment on the Flock camera controversy here on the John Justice Show.
Hey, guys. Happy Freedom Friday. This is James Dickey. Just wanted to say that I would have loved to have those Flock cameras in our old office building before they firebombed it at Center of the American Experiment in Upper Midwest Law Center. But I think it really depends on where these Flock cameras are placed. If they're going to be placed in public areas where they're not aimed at people's houses and stuff like that, then maybe you don't have an expectation of privacy out there in the public. But if they're going to be in neighborhoods and things like that, you got some real privacy concerns.
Anybody know why we call them Flock?
It's a company name.
Oh, is that what it is?
Yeah, it's just.
Do you know why
company
they
that-
name themselves? I just think of Christmas every time.
Because they
I
all
hear that,
work
so-
like they can all work in concert, right? Like
Is that-
like a flock of cameras? Like,
Oh, is that what it is? They can like
that's what I
swarm?
believe. I mean,
Oh, I
if
have
not,
no
I
idea.
think they
Yeah,
missed
I have
the
no,
point.
I have no
but-
clue. Probably completely irrelevant to the conversation.
Your
It's just
face,
Freedom
yeah.
Friday.
Ew,
and-
it does add like a
Yeah.
gives me a shudder.
I had
you
a
know,
negative
like
reaction to that name.
a
Yeah.
flock
A swarm of
watching.
Yes,
Yes.
Flock. We're
They're all watching you at the same
Like,
time.
Well, with that being said, what are your thoughts on flocked Christmas trees? Just kidding. Does anybody even know what I'm
I don't
talking
even
about?
know what that means.
You don't know what a flocked Christmas tree is?
You're
Oh,
to talk to.
like the snow dusted brick.
Yes.
That's what they call that?
Yeah, you can get
I didn't know.
the trees
Nope.
that it looks like they have fake snow on them. They're
I just called it fake snow.
no.
Yeah, we're
Frosted.
we're not like a big like decoration family.
Aw.
You know,
All right, I need to feel better about the situation. So we have Karin producing the show. Devin is still here. Have you heard of Flock before? Okay, Devin, Flock. No, okay. All right, it's got to be an eight. It's got to be an eight. It's
Devin
gotta
just
be an
calls it
age
fake
thing.
snow too.
Yeah,
You,
fake
you're just
snow.
Yeah.
you just made this word up.
You can flock your windows. They have the spray. You can
Oh,
flock
okay.
your
You
windows.
can flock anything if you
wow.
Try hard.
have imagination.
No, now it's different when a man flocks versus
is.
when
And that's
a
way
woman
very true.
different.
Yep.
flocks.
That's
That's
so
a
true.
completely
Yeah.
different ballgame. All right.
Different.
Let's keep with the theme. I want to play you. I want to get to the story of Minnesotans failing driving tests at levels not seen in years. First off, though, let me play this audio. This has gone viral. I don't know if you guys have seen it yet. I just found it this morning, and then it kept popping up on my algorithm. So this is audio from police body cam footage. It's a law enforcement officer pulling over. AK already knows what I'm going to play.
Yeah.
It's a law enforcement officer pulling over a Tesla driver. The Tesla driver, he was speeding, but he claims he's not at fault because he wasn't driving the car.
Oh boy.
Okay, so here is the audio of the stop that's been making the rounds on social media today.
Hi. Yes, sir.
A little fast.
I wasn't driving. That's a test driving autopilot, sir.
You're in charge, though, so I need to see your driver's license.
I'm in charge, but I wasn't driving. So
Doesn't matter.
Like,
You're in the driver's seat. You
I'm
can
in
pull it, you can blame the car all you want, but
but how can we sort out this problem, sir? I wasn't.
do you have a driver's license?
I do, sir.
The car doesn't have a driver's license. I need to see your driver's license.
But I can't get like anything like involved because wasn't me, sir.
Sir, I
This
need
is
to see your driver's license.
Yes, I can give you driver's license.
Okay.
But first of all, I'm just.
No, not first of all. The first thing I need to see is your driver's license. That's the number one thing. All right, sir. I did write you a ticket for speeding, 64 and a 45. I'm not sure how this whole thing works, but it's not the first person I've stopped that's been an autopilot. I don't know why they decided to speed, but there's no way the speed limit here is 65 or whatever it thought it was. It's only 45.
So like, is this happen? You telling me that this is not the first time that you pull over with the Tesla?
Yes.
So how do you figure out in the car?
How I figure out what?
How do you figure out in the court when you talk to the judge or when I'm talking to the judge? How I'm going to figure
You're-
out? I wasn't driving.
It
This is
doesn't
not
matter.
my fault.
You're completely in charge of the car.
I can't
You were
drive.
driving.
No, sir. I was here.
You're missing the point. You are
He's in the driver's
I'm not
seat.
Whether you
driving.
turn
This
it over,
is just driving, and I was sitting
sir,
here.
whether
This-
you
this
turn
is-
it over
this
to
is-
the
this
car doesn't matter. You're still driving. You can say the car's driving as all you want. The judge is not going to play that game. You were driving. If you
Well,
choose to trust the car,
I need to see your supervisor, please.
sir, this is your ticket. On the bottom is a complaint number. If you
No,
want
I
to
don't
talk to
wanna
my,
complain. I just want to speak with the
well, this is your
supervisor.
copy. Do you want your driver's license back,
So you can't aggress me like
sir? Do you want your driver's license
this.
back?
I want to get my driver's license, but I need to speak for your supervisor.
You can, like I said, you can give him a call.
No, I can't.
There's a-
I need your supervisor right now.
You want me to call him here?
Yes.
Well, I'll tell him that you want him here. I'll see what he says.
Oh, the patience of a
So
saint
all the
with this
supervisors
cop.
are busy. If you want to sit here and wait, you can. There's a court date on the
You know,
ticket.
you will be here, and then he will become here because I got every recording right here. This is how you respond to me. This is
How
how
do-
you rude to me. This
How
is
am I rude to
unacceptable.
you?
So listen, sir. With due all respect, I'm a good citizen. I
With
didn't
due
do
all
anything wrong. I'm a zero criminal.
Not all due.
You treat me like that.
Wow.
Whole like this, I am.
I didn't treat you like a asshole. I
No,
gave
no,
you
no.
a
You
ticket.
dropped. I have a witness.
Come on, dude.
This
Just
is a
admit
witness.
it.
She got a witness. You
Okay.
draw me like this? You want to see your driver license?
You
That's not acceptable, sir. I'm a good citizen, okay? You cannot treat me like this good citizen.
Are you
Okay.
going to sit here and wait for the supervisor?
No, I want your supervisor
Are-
right now, and
are
then you will be here.
Are
Because
you
I went
Teleport.
to
I'm
went to
leaving.
freeway.
I'm
You're not
leaving.
leaving.
Goodbye. I'm leaving.
Okay.
Ah,
I feel like
So-
there's an SNL skit in
So
here somewhere.
it's not. It was a completely legitimate stop. So I want to defend this guy a little tiny bit.
Oh.
Okay. Hold
No.
on. Hold on.
No.
Hold on. Not the way he behaved at the end. Okay. The guy was ignorant as to what the car was doing, right? I think he has a misunderstanding. My assumption here, if he's on autopilot mode in the car, so when we did our road trip 2026 at the beginning of July, I mentioned in the run-up show that Kyle had learned all of the auto driving features of Monty. I hadn't messed with any of it.
Yeah.
The lane assist, the cruise control that keeps you a certain distance from the car in
adaptive
front of
cruise
you,
control.
the whole 9 yards. The car would slow down on the corners. And I think that it actually would drop the speed limit if the posted speed limit changed while you were driving. I don't know if that's the case when it comes to Teslas. So I'm wondering if this guy was confused because it had done that for him in the past, but the changeover was probably a speed trap. It probably went from like 65 down to 45, and we witnessed that while we were on the road. I'm wondering if that's where his confusion came in, saying, well, the car should have gone and slowed down. He's still absolutely guilty, make no mistake.
Right.
But I think that's where the confusion was. I think he had a fundamental misunderstanding of who was responsible and thought that Tesla was the one who was responsible and not him because it didn't automatically slow down. And I see all of the ardent head shakes that are going on with the Freedom Friday crew this morning. Grace, would you like to chime in first?
I don't know why I'm getting so heated over this, but this sounds like one of the worst people in the world. And I love that the officer was like, what do you expect me to do? Like, the car doesn't have a driver's license. Like, I'm taking someone's driver's license. Because that was my thought in the way that the guy responded. He's like, well, I wasn't driving. So you should take whoever was driving, take their license, and book them. But no, this is absurd behavior. If you are in the driver's seat, you are responsible for the operation of your car. And then to, fly off the handle at the poor officer who stayed so calm and was so nice about the whole thing. Terrible, terrible. I have no leeway for this man.
Yeah, I could never be a police officer.
Yeah.
And then they got it all recording right there, like it's just an interaction like that. I would be like, are you effing kidding me?
My favorite part is like he just kept on misphrasing common statements, which makes it super funny to me because clearly, like, he's not from the United States. Maybe he's a naturalized citizen. I don't know.
Yeah, I just think he didn't understand how his car worked and thought the car was responsible for slowing down.
Listen. If you drive a Tesla and you have full self-driving mode turned on, they basically require you to do X amount of hours and understanding of how full self-driving works.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, okay.
No, you can't just like buy a Tesla, go FSD and just woo.
I'm not saying he shouldn't have got a ticket, by the way.
No,
he absolutely should have got a ticket. I just think he was,
in my
he was
opinion,
ignorant.
in my opinion, he was trying to act ignorant and hoping that the cop would be like, oh, I guess you're right. I'll let you go. I think that was his intention. And then he became more and more incensed when the cop's like not listening. And he's just like, yeah, this isn't going to work. So then his last ditch effort is to become just overtly obtuse and start like cursing at him. And that never works. Like, I can understand. I've been let off plenty of speeding tickets because I am always a gentleman to law enforcement. And sometimes they'll see my bumper stickers and they'll be like, oh, yeah, hey, cool. And then they let me go. Now, if one of them is like, sorry, man, like, you're cool. I like you. Let's say they're an avid John Justice Show watcher and they're like, awesome, but I got to give you a ticket. I'd be like, cool.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be like, wait, you want me to blast you on the internet now? And then become belligerent. It's like, you try and finesse your way. And if your finessing doesn't work, you just got to take the L.
Oh, I'm the same way. It was always 10 and 2 on the steering wheel when they walk up so they can see both of my hands.
Yep.
Whenever they ask for, the license and registration, I always tell them the license is here, the registration is here. I'm going to go here and here.
Yep.
And I'm the same way. If they end up giving me a ticket, I still go and thank the law enforcement officer for their time. I will say that there was a nice little golden moment of about 5 years when I was in Tucson where I got pulled over a lot, but it's a very small city and everybody knew who I was and I didn't get any tickets. It was a wonderful thing.
Love the show, man. Keep up the great work.
Pinkies up 100%.
See,
I probably would have lost my license.
Different types of privilege. Female privilege.
Of course.
John Justice privilege.
100%.
Listen, I tell people all the time, I got black privilege, all right? Like, when people are like, oh, black people have it so bad, I'm like, I have had the opposite. I grew up in mostly white areas, and people give me so much additional leeway and leverage, and to the point that there's actually a terminology, all right? There's a terminology, and it's MAWS. Middle-aged white women love black men and they give us a lot of leeway. If you look at some of the most avid followers, they're middle-aged white women. And if I was Max, I don't think I would have that same type of deal. Like it's just so
Same Riz.
yeah, you know, I'm just middle-aged white women love me.
I have not
and I love them
experienced
back.
a whole lot of that privilege
Yeah,
that you're talking
no,
about.
it's fantastic.
Do you guys use any of the? Do you use any of the features? I'm assuming we all have the same auto drive features on our cars. You guys use any of them?
All the time.
I like the adaptive cruise control.
Do you?
Yep.
I do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, in my new car, I mean, in the Kia that I had before, it was nothing. I was basically driving
manually.
You know, like the
Pleb.
old poor way
Pleb.
of driving.
Poor person driving.
But now, yeah, I do the adaptive cruise control. The lane assist is in my car. I will just say, my business partner, he got a brand new Cybertruck. Okay. And so I've driven in that Cybertruck before with full auto drive, and I believe most of those new Teslas have like normal mode where it's just following the speed limit, like a conservative mode where it's going a little bit under the speed limit, and then like
It plays John Justice on the radio.
conservative mode.
Yeah.
Now tuning in to John Justice. But then there's also like a hardcore mode. Like I think it's literally called like hardcore mode, where it'll like max out at like 5 over the speed limit.
Oh, okay.
So what this smells to me as the classic, I'm going to get out of this ticket no matter what I have to say. And honestly, it's a pretty creative, I don't know. I mean, it seems like a pretty creative excuse to be like,
probably worked
hey,
before.
it was my car. Like, I don't know what happened, but I was not the responsible party here. That to me sounds like I was on my way to the hospital, you know, and that's why I was speeding.
Grace's ardent dismissal of all of this right now is
This is so
hysterical to me.
stupid. You're in the driver's seat. I'm sorry. Like, watch what it was 20 over. 65 and a 45 is egregious.
Unless John said, like, if it went from 65 to 45, listen, there's a couple of spots where I drive.
It's like this all
and it
over
drops,
the country, by the way.
And it drops, 15 miles quick. And I'm like, oh man. And I've seen a couple law enforcement kind of posted up. I haven't really seen them like grabbing anyone. So, I tend to go 6 over when it's not a 2-lane split. When it's 2-lane split, I'm always at 10. Always 10.
10 over?
Never got pulled over.
That's playing with fire, though.
No,
I kept
2-lane split. 2-lane split.
I kept waking Kyle up on the drive back from California, moving through Nevada and Utah because of that very reason. Because you'd be just bombing down the highway, and then you come up on a tiny little town that lasts like maybe a mile and a half, but then the speed limit drops to 35. Whoa, horsey. Let's go back to the blaster line. A lot of comments have rolled into 612-584-4565. And first we'll hear from Emily.
Morning, John. Love your show. I'm so glad you are back on the air. The speeding ticket clip made me laugh, and it truly is an SNL skit in my mind. I have something I have named SNL ADD. This is when I experience or witness something funny, and in my mind, it plays out as an old school, actual funny SNL skit. Have a great weekend. Bye.
Good way to go through life.
SNL ADD.
If we were doing a talk back of the day or a blast of the day, that probably would have been in the running. We should bring that back.
Yeah,
Get a
you should.
sponsor for that.
Not to age myself, but back in the old days before we had automatic driving, if your speedometer was off and you could prove it, you were still responsible to be going the right speed limit. So this guy doesn't have a leg to stand on. But it is funny to listen to. Great show so far. Have a great day.
Minnesotans are falling behind the wheel. Driving tests. It hit a 6-year high last year. Nearly 40% of test takers needing 2 or more attempts to pass the exam. For would-be drivers, the road test is the last step before they can get a license. It was even worse for young adults aged 18 to 20. Nearly half who took a road test last year failed. And more than 1,700 took the road test 4 times and still failed. A dramatic increase from just 3 years ago when 479 people took the test 4 times and failed every one, according to the data from the Minnesota Department of Public Safety Driver and Vehicle Services. Minnesota law requires anyone under 18 to take a driver education course consisting of 30 hours of classroom instruction, 6 hours of behind-the-wheel training. They also have to log 50 hours of practice driving with a licensed adult 21 or over before taking the road test. But an increasing number of young adults are skipping driver's ed. Instead, they are waiting until after they turn 18 to go right to the road test, which could be contributing to the failure rate. That, say the folks who teach driving and those who administer the test, is, as I mentioned, the likely culprit. And let's share with you one quote from the story. Driver education has a significant impact on the failure rates because the quality of instruction and preparation directly affects how well individuals understand traffic law, driving skills, and test requirements. This was an examiner at the Arden Hills testing station, which I'm familiar with. Driver's education is designed to teach and prepare new drivers by providing them with the knowledge of what to do and what not to do on the road. If instructions or time dedicated to instructions are limited or unclear, it can contribute to a higher number of failures. None of this surprises me at all. The younger generations do not even have close to the same attitude as what I had growing up. When I was 15, I could not wait to get my permit. I couldn't. But that was the thing that I was looking forward to the most. The moment that I turned age 16, so that I could get my driver's license. And I can tell you from having a 19 and a 24-year-old, they just didn't have nearly as much interest to learn driving for all the reasons that I think most of us know. I would be curious though, how did you guys do on your driver's test? And you feel free to comment on this story too.
Killed it. Obviously, I passed on the first try, of course. But I will say, I mean, they said
Of course.
Of course, I'm a great driver. They said 6-year high. I mean,
Yeah.
6 years ago was COVID, right? They were just like boop, 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 like passing those driver's tests out like crazy. So I wonder if it was compared to a little more. If we went further back, historically, is it really that high? Because I have a lot of beef with how they did it during COVID. Because now I think there's all these people on the road who never, actually learned how to drive. Because in driver's ed, maybe not everyone knows this, but I went to driver's ed not that long ago in high school, and you don't learn how to drive. You don't learn anything about driving. You just watch videos about people dying because they texted and drove. And that's an important life lesson, okay? You should not text and drive. However, you don't learn anything practical. And my mom always tells a story about how when I got my permit, I got in the car and asked her which was the gas and which was the brake, and she almost jumped out of the car. But that's because they don't teach you that. They
Right.
just scare you about things like texting and driving, which is fine, serves a purpose, but you don't learn how to drive.
So real quick before you guys answer, and we'll go around the group this morning. And again, Katherine Johnson, Grace Keating, Max Reimer, and A.K. Kamara here on the John Justice Show, presented by American Experiment. So to your point, Catherine, DVS administered nearly 192,000 road tests last year. That was the most since before the COVID pandemic of 2020. 61% of the test takers passed. That was the lowest passing percentage of 6 years and a drop from 5% in 2023. And that's about, let's see, the rate was slightly lower last year when compared to the 6-year failure rate of 46%, but better than the 49% failure rate in 2021, according to the DVS data. Grace, you seem like an individual who passed on her first try.
I did.
You're
I did.
very cautious driver. That's my guess.
I think I'm a pretty good driver. I don't know. I did. I will say in my driver's test, I did, I think, blow through a stop sign at one point, but I still passed. That was my only misstep. Okay.
Thought that was an auto failure. All right.
Might have been some privilege there. I don't know. But with the story, I'm so glad you brought up COVID because that was my thought, and I don't think this was really the case. But I think it'd be really funny if they were just being like way harder on students taking the test now than they were during COVID because they let so many people through and they know how many bad drivers.
Yeah, you didn't have to get in a car with anyone. They like took away the whole driving aspect of the test,
Yeah.
which is crucial.
Yeah, maybe they've learned their lesson and they're like, we're not going to pass anyone
That's
unless you do it
insane. I forgot
perfectly.
they did that. That's insane.
It was because they had such a backlog, and so they were just passing kids if they did anything. You
Don't
know?
like that.
Yeah.
AK?
So I started driving when I was 11, And my mom would let me drive all the time when we go to Bible camp. She would literally be like, "Oh, we're going to teach you how to drive." And then
Jesus, take the wheel.
Yeah, right. And then by the time I was like 12, 13, I was driving pretty frequently, all without a license, all without a
So
permit.
wait, this is the same era of your life where you were mixing a bunch of different alcohol together with friends, right?
yeah. But I wouldn't drink and drive. It's not like I could drive every day. But by the time I got to high school, there's this one gal, and literally a butter knife could start her car. Her name is Callie, and she was like, as long as my car's here when I need it, like, you can take it. So I would always take her car so I could go and buy cigarettes when I was 15, 16, 17, because there's this one dude that worked at this gas station sold me cigarettes. And I didn't get my actual license until I was 19 years old.
Oh, wow.
Because I didn't need it. I was driving without a license all this time. I got pulled over multiple times,
True
always
liberty,
got out of
baby.
it, right? And when I finally did it, okay, I passed my written permit, right? And then when I did my first driver's test, I passed that. Nice. When I got my CDL, because I have my CDL, I failed the written test by 1 point. And then I actually failed my first driving test because I didn't actually read all the things I had to do. And one of the things you have to do is you have to come to a complete stop within like a box that's like 3 feet. And I was just barely over. And that was the last thing. And one of the things is like when you're on a regular road, there's technically 2 lanes, even if there's only 1 lane painted. So I found that out, which they don't test for normal drivers. So technically I failed 2 tests out of the 4 that I've taken, even though I was driving long before without a license.
Yeah.
Oh, very good.
Wow.
Very
you
good.
lived a real.
Max?
Okay, so I'll just say this whole argument might be he should not throw stones at glass houses because I did fail my first time.
All right, brother. It's all right.
Now listen, for me though, it was the driving portion. It was in Northeast Wisconsin where I grew up, and I had the infamous. We had at our DMV in De Pere, Wisconsin. We had their one infamous lady who conducted driver's tests, and you never wanted her. They called her No Pass Patty.
No Pass Patty.
And I got No Pass Patty. And I think I did something where it was like a 4-way stop, and I thought it was a 2-way stop, and I kind of lurched forward and didn't actually come to a full stop because I had realized too late that this was a 4-way stop. And so I auto-failed that first time. And John, you brought up the importance of your driver's license. Like, I think I may have been like the last generation where that was a thing, because when I failed, I was devastated. I was devastated that I failed that test and couldn't get my driver's license on time.
Well, because, I mean, again, you didn't have social media. You didn't have you didn't have texting. You didn't have, if you were going to hang out with your buddies, the phone call was basically just, hey, are you home? I'm on my way.
Yeah.
And it was bicycles, and then it was cars. I mean, that's what you did. And that has completely shifted in society right now, where you have friends that haven't, seen each other for the longest time because they're just communicating via their texting and social media.
Like,
apps.
I didn't have a cell phone until my senior year of high school, which I think is pretty unheard of.
Yeah, I didn't have a cell phone until I was an adult.
Yeah, I didn't have a cell phone until I was working in when I was a public real estate auctioneer, and I had one of those Motorola flip phones.
Oh,
that
yeah.
I ended up running up a $500 bill on, talking to a girl that I started dating.
Calling 1-900 numbers?
No. I got I had just met this girl, and we had it was like the burgeoning relationship, and I'm driving around like 250 miles a day, and I can't remember what she was working, but she was free all the time. So we were talking on the phone all the time, and then the phone logs came into work, and they were like, "Okay, that's legitimate. That's legitimate, but the $350 is not legitimate. Who are you talking to?"
Yeah, because back in the day, only nights and weekends were free, and the rest of the time it was like 10 cents a minute.
It was all
to be on a cell phone.
It feels like yesterday. It feels like that was yesterday.
Yeah, like it was so crazy. Like, oh, hey man, I can't call you on the cell phone until the night or the weekend because it's free.
Well, it was the bit from City Slickers. Isn't that what Billy Crystal was doing? And there's that whole comedy bit at the beginning. I'm just selling air.
Yep.
That was all the texting, the charge per text. It was all just one big scam. It didn't cost the phone companies anymore to do
crazy.
any
They
of it.
made so much money.
Yeah, they just made bank off of us. Let's go to the blaster line, 612-584-4565 here on the John Justice Show, presented by American Equipment.
John, Tim from Chicago. Good morning. Great show. Happy you're back on the air. Say the driver test failure rate seems to correlate pretty well with the competency rates for our graduating high school students.
Pretty close.
Just an observation.
Yeah.
Have a good day.
That, and if we're talking the last 5 years, we're also talking about driver's license for illegal immigrants.
Yeah.
Yep. The driver's license.
What I
want to
know is what percentage are female or of Asian American descent, because that'd be really funny if it lined up with the stereotype.
I'm gonna let that one. I'm gonna let that one
Preach.
go.
That'll preach.
That'll preach.
So I passed my driver's license test on the first try, but it wasn't without controversy because I went to take the test in my dad's 1968 Volkswagen Bug. He'd bought it brand new off the showroom floor. We went to go do the test, but he did. One of his taillights was out. And I've been waiting, to take my test. This was the most anticipated, day up until that age of 16 years old.
No doubt.
Wanted to get my license, wanted to crank Depeche Mode's Behind the Wheel. That was my goal by myself. And I was so upset. And they're like, well, listen, if you can get another car and come back, you can take your test today. So we drove my dad's Bug back to his house, and we ended up grabbing, I think it was a 71 Volkswagen bus. And I had to take my driver's test in a Volkswagen van.
Yeah.
With the sliding doors.
You parallel parked
that sucker.
Wow.
And
that's
you passed.
Passed on the first try.
Wow,
That's good.
You
That's
clutched
right.
up on that
Yeah.
one, John.
Dude, I was not gonna.
You were not gonna
get
fail
my
that day.
license. Heck, no. Subsequently, I ended up breaking that car about a week later when I took it out with my buddies, because I went to go park it next to a curb and I angled it wrong. And so I ended up bending the tie rod arm on the front.
Ooh.
So the front car, the left wheel, the left front was straight, but the right one was at a 90-degree angle. To this day, my dad still doesn't believe that's how I did it. He still is convinced I did something else, but I was simply trying to park the car and I bent it.
Oh, yeah. I've seen that happen. My dad, that actually literally happened to one of his cabs. He was parking and it just was like, burp. And it was like, here's the wheel well, and then the tire was like 90 degrees. And it was like, what the heck happened there? Yeah.
So the capper on that story was I was about 2 blocks away from my uncle's house, who was a mechanic and actually had a garage with a car lift in the back of his house.
Dope.
So he came over, got the car, fixed it, and we were back out at our party about an hour and a half later. It was beautiful.
Wow.
That's right.
That's fascinating.
It is fascinating. Let's go here. Speaking of fascinating, on the John Justice Show.
Hey, Jen. The driving test doesn't surprise me. Just because someone's physically there or learning the test, they're not learning. Shows in our testing scores at schools. It is why schools like Anoka Ramsey have put in a mandatory crash course after nursing. After you graduate from nursing school, there's an automatic crash course you have to do because so many kids were failing the state boards and it was looking bad on the school.
Wow.
So this does not surprise me.
There's an article in the Blaze. Road rules refresh. Forgot how to drive. Let Uncle Josh bring you up to speed. We don't have to go through all the rules.
Road rules? Like the MTV
Road
show?
rules.
No, actually,
Real world.
the Uniform Vehicle Code that apparently is consistent across all of our states.
Nah.
He writes this: over the past 15 years, America has abandoned just about every social rule, every kind of etiquette, and every normative behavior that used to make public interaction bearable. Today, we'll be reviewing the rules of the road. And he writes, the Uniform Vehicle Code is model law. It's not actual state or federal law. It's a universal template on which every state bases its rules of the road on. Your state driver's handbook through the Department of Motor Vehicles, they're nearly identical from state to state. The only exceptions are New York City's ban on turning right on red. I didn't even know they did that. So without getting into the, because he goes through all of the different rules of the road and what you're supposed to do with four-way stops and T-stops and all that. I don't want to get into all that. What I do want to ask, though, is, with what we know so far based off this conversation and just your own thoughts, and I posed the question earlier, are the younger generations driving on the road just bad drivers, or are they simply just ignoring the rules of the road? I mean, because when I go home every single day, I can point out 5 or 6 different, lawbreakers that I can see just on the drive, blowing through stop signs, waiting too long to blow through reds. I mean, the list goes on and on. So are people just ignoring the rules of the road, or are they just bad drivers at this point in time?
I think that the attention span for younger generations now is shorter than ever because everything is like TikTokified and realified. So I think that they just don't take the time to actually do any of the studying. I think driving is intuitive enough that if you just actually take the time, and I'm using myself as an example. Only reason I failed that test because I literally didn't read what all the parts of, I'm like, I know how to drive, duh. I didn't realize that you had to be able to be that tight with it, and I bet that's what's happening. I bet people just aren't reading what the rules are, so they're failing. As an example, if you come to, again, if it's 2 lanes and it's a 4-way intersection, which lane are you supposed to be in if you are turning left? I think that sometimes people are like, okay, well, I'm in the inside lane, and when I turn, do I turn into the inside or the outside lane? Which one is it? And it's one of those things where if you didn't read it, you're going to fail because it's not intuitive, in my opinion, which lane you should be in. Because technically, you should get over a lane when you turn. You don't stay in the same lane, I believe. Now, I probably just failed that. But that's what I think it is. I don't think it's necessarily as bad drivers.
I don't know, like, I don't know if it's the youth. Are we for sure that
I completely agree.
The youth,
completely agree.
Whenever I see a bad driver, just yesterday, I pulled out of this little complex a million times. I know exactly how the lanes work. Some old dude behind me is honking at me because I'm doing the right thing in the lane.
Because I'm doing the right thing.
It's always the old people.
It's always the old people.
How old are you talking?
That was
40.
Are we talking the age of the imagined John Justice or the actual
the Kato Kalin version, or just kidding. Anyway.
The other epidemic on the road that I see is a lot of people are putting these like student driver stickers on their cars, and it's just like an older person or like
I don't believe them.
Person.
Yeah.
Yep.
Could be illegals.
Could be illegals. It says student driver. And I'm like, well, do they just hand these out? You must just be able to buy them. And then they're driving horribly. I'm like, that's not an excuse for you to be a horrible driver. That's the epidemic.
Driving like 15 miles under on the freeway. I'm like,
Right.
This is how you cause accidents.
No, the real epidemic right now is these e-moto bikes, okay? Because these kids are getting on these e-moto bikes and cooking along at 50 miles an hour, and I can tell they're 13 years old.
Oh, yeah.
In the past week, I have gotten almost smoked 2 times by a kid on an e-moto bike, just like looking around, like waving to his friends. I'm like, there's like a better than 50% chance that I get a severe injury in the next year by some 13-year-old riding around on these literal motorcycles.
Do parents know their children are riding motorcycles?
They must. Who bought them? Who bought these e-moto bikes? But yesterday it happened in the Forest Lake Target parking lot. I'm like walking around in like the little pedestrian area, about to like go shop, and this kid like flies around on an e-moto bike. He's like looking at his buddy, and I'm like, dude, slow down. I like literally yelled at him. I was like, I have become my grandparents.
Yeah.
I am scared.
I was hearing the old man voice.
You darn kids.
You darn kids in your motorbikes.
Yeah. Well, that's the real epidemic.
Around all over the place.
Completely agree.
I'll tell you what, it's a good thing there's no flock of cameras within our little office area here.
That you know of.
When I come driving in at 4:30 in the morning.
Yeah.
It's a nice little road course. It's fun. There's nobody
It
around.
is, yeah.
I'm jamming Sleep Token, flying up, cutting through. Totally not doing that. All right. Speaking of technology in cars, it's a quick one here. Wall Street Journal. Brent Doyle maintains a meticulous spreadsheet of the latest automotive tech, electronic door handles, massive touchscreens, cruise control that automatically goes with the flow of traffic. He says, I don't want any part of that. The computer scientist living in St. Louis, who sees the technology as a pile of problems waiting to happen. Doyle is apparently part of a vocal minority group fighting the auto industry's obsession with packing new technology into cars. Call them curmudgeonly roadblocks to progress or the last beacons of sanity on the road. Either way, they're pushing back. Individuals have gotten resourceful. They scour dealerships for models with the fewest bells and whistles. They take to online message boards seeking the most low-tech of modern vehicles. They figure out how to disable the alarms and alerts or stick tape on the digital dashboards to mimic old-school buttons. So when I got Monty, it had all these available features on it, and I didn't want to have anything to do with it to start. I read through the whole manual, the lane assist, and all that. I'm like, nope. But I just didn't bother with any of it. I will say, though, after Road Trip 2026 with Kyle and him learning all of it, I completely adopted. I don't use it a lot, but if I'm cruising in, there's nobody on the road. Like this morning, I got in here ridiculously early. And I did. I just threw the assists on and just kind of let it do its thing. So I was a little bit against this and kind of the old school mentality until I learned all of it. So how do you guys feel about the tech in your cars? And again, how often are you using it? And you probably have you got a new ride there, Catherine Johnson.
It's my favorite part. I like it. I got everything turned on. It's nice. If you veer a little bit, it's like boop, boop, vibrates, underneath you. It's nice. You're like, ooh, okay,
It's not slapping you.
No, it's not a slap. It's like
Can you increase the
It's a gentle tap.
tension on there?
A gentle tap.
And I like it. I like all the tech. I mean, I think it helps, and it prevents accidents. Certainly, if you're starting to back up, and then another car's coming, it stops you. I think it's good. It's good for safety, and I like it. I don't know.
Grace?
I don't know, to each his own. I'd certainly get the argument of like having less tech in your car. In general, I think it's very helpful. My biggest complaint is like how many buttons I have to press on my little. This is such a 21st
first
world
world
problem in every sense. But I
Yeah.
have to press so many buttons on the little touch screen just to be able to like control my AC. And I do miss the days when it was like there was a little knob and I'm just driving. I can just do this, whatever. And now it's like I got to press this and this and this and this, and it just feels a little excessive.
That
to
is
me.
true.
But
In my new car, it's got like 17 different functions. I'm like, no, just air.
Yeah,
more.
I'm hot. Make it cold.
Now, see, I love all that, but I'll explain in just a moment.
Well,
Max?
my car, it's like when you're starting to veer and stuff like that, it gives you the same warning. Like my car's a little condescending though, right? Because it's like maybe it's time to take a break, and it'll flash coffee.
That's what mine
It'll
did.
flash coffee at me. My
that's
kids
what
find
mine
it
did.
hilarious.
That's what mine did on the road.
Maybe it's time to take a break.
Maybe
It's like,
time you pull
oh,
over.
thank you, car.
Yeah, no, I 100% when I was looking for a vehicle, it needed to have adaptive cruise control because I know it's existed for a while, but I was like, yeah, just stupid, trusting the machine. And I started using my mother-in-law's car, and I'd use it all the time. I'm like, this is like the greatest thing ever. And the lane assist, I turn on full lane assist that legitimately I don't really have to hold the wheel because it actually adjusts itself. I've never used it during the winter, and I don't think I will. So that's the only thing is if it's a clear condition, if it's not raining, beautiful, amazing. Raining, inclement weather, snow, I don't think I'm going to use any of it. I think I will stay in 100% manual mode.
Even in the
That's fair.
Tesla, in the snow, it will turn off completely, I feel like, so quickly. So that's the one thing I wonder about people with Tesla. My husband has a Tesla. It's like half the year in Minnesota. It seems like the self-driving is not super useful.
I turn off. That's the one thing I do turn off is the lane assist because I don't like the little
You don't like that?
corrections.
Yeah.
the little corrections.
It is weird
that
because it's like you're
makes.
fighting against the
Yeah,
wheel.
that is.
I just let it. I'm like,
I love that.
Jesus, take the wheel.
And then you do
AK is plugged into the Matrix
I am.
completely.
Yep.
Friend of the show, Pat, posted on X, and I agree. She says, I hate that on my new car is the auto start-stop. I make sure to turn that off every time. Now, Grace, to your point, and this is just the sci-fi nerd in me and the Millennium Falcon being my favorite ship, but I love when I get into the car and I have to do everything, right?
Yeah.
Throw into the sport mode, turn off the auto start stop, flipping all the switches. I
You're
feel like
preparing for a journey,
I know,
man.
I love it. I get into it. It's so a stereo where I need it. AC's there.
John takes his pilot goggles and puts them down on his face.
Oh, dude! If it was socially acceptable, I'd be wearing a helmet. I'd be putting gloves on the whole 9 yards.
John just pulls up just wearing a helmet, gloves.
Yeah,
Gets out.
absolutely. I feel like I have the seat up. Like nobody can. Everybody in my house hates driving my car. They all love my car, but they hate driving it because the way I have the steering wheel set.
Yeah.
Because I have it set like a NASCAR driver.
I bet
like,
you do.
I'm
Yes.
really
You're on it.
I'm really up close to the steering
Oh,
wheel. The
yeah.
back's up nice. I'm nice and tight. It feels like I'm getting into a fighter jet.
Wow.
Yeah.
I like how we laugh about John wearing a helmet in his car alone, and yet I still see people wearing masks in their car.
Yeah, seriously.
Oh yeah, all the time,
okay.
all the time.
Well, this fits in nicely with what we were talking about a moment ago. A growing number of young people are switching from smartphones to dumb phones to reduce social media usage and improve mental health. There's more to this, and just looking at the clock, we can dive into a bit of this, but I see these stories and I get really encouraged because I think this is a good thing, right? And I think it's a good thing if the younger generations are turning off of social media, getting rid of the black mirrors in front of their faces and looking for the more conventional ways to get their dopamine hits. I just don't know if it is enough individuals. Like these stories seem somewhat anecdotal of small sample sizes, and I don't see this yet as being this mass movement of the younger generation abandoning the modern technology. So they say the devices ranging from, as we were talking about a moment ago, basic flip phones to those with limited apps offer a way to disconnect from the addictive nature of social media platforms. Research, of course, suggests that reducing social media use can lead to improved sleep, concentration, and reduced distress. Do you think that this is something that is going to grab hold of the younger generations to a point where you see the majority of them ditching this, or do you think this is isolated to a smaller group?
No, I think it's so like inherent that people in the age category where you start getting a cell phone and getting on social media and things like that, it is so targeted to be addictive to them, and you want to be part of the in crowd, part of the group that has it. So for something new to come along and take over as the, like cool thing to do would be so difficult. I feel like parents have tried this with kids, and it's a good idea. I think, if you have younger kids or whatever, give them a flip phone, because the functionality of being able to call your parents when you're younger and maybe, need something in an emergency is great, but you don't want to give them access to all the social media and things like that. But there's no way, I don't believe it at all, there's no way that kids who are in middle school, high school are opting to have a flip phone.
Yeah, I wish it would catch on. I think it's great. I think
sounds
that,
good.
especially for young people. I mean, it's the mental health side of it for sure. But this has to be a tiny group. It's not going to catch on. There's no way.
I can only speak for me personally, right? And I know I'm not in that generation. Again, I got my first cell phone, which was like a flip phone that was like hard cased. You could like run it over with your phone, run it over with your car, and it would still be okay. But for me, it's like my business life is pretty much all social media. Like I have to have it on my phone. And the moment that I don't, the moment that I make so much money that I don't need to be have all the apps, I will become a hermit. I will get a flip phone again, because I can tell it just even adds to your cortisone levels. That you have access to everybody all the time.
Yeah, I don't know. I have 19 nieces and nephews.
Hey, I said cortisone real quick. I meant cortisol.
Oldest is 22 years old. The youngest is, I guess technically the youngest is not born yet. But because of that, I have a huge sample size. And I will say that there is a range where what I've noticed is that a lot of the younger kids will participate in social media as observers, not as creators. And so they will create an account and they won't even post anything of themselves, which to me is kind of weird. Because if I think about, when people are like making fun of Zoomers and even younger millennials, it's because they would go and they would post everything in their life. Like that was like the biggest knock, is like they would go out and it's like, yeah, we get it. You do a lot of things and you take all the photos. Whereas it seems like the newer generation, the Gen Alpha kids, and maybe some of the very, very youngest of the Gen Zers, they don't actually post content. They observe other people's, and I think in a certain sense, that's probably good. But then on the other sense, when I've looked at the data, it makes them have very, very low self-worth because they're comparing themselves to other people and they don't feel that they're worthy enough to be able to post their own content. So I don't know. I mean, I actually have the opposite kind of belief from you two. I think that you will start to see a moving away because a bunch of Democrats and Republicans are starting to ban social media apps in certain states for people under the age of 16. And I think that you will see a natural trend where that, I think, will be a good thing for society. Because what we've seen is that suicidal ideations and depression have gone up in young people. And they believe that there's a direct correlation because we've moved away from having a child play-based childhood for children and moved into a phone-based childhood for children, which has basically erased and eradicated groups of kids coming together to learn how to solve problems. They just hide in the internet and then they don't actually solve problems and they become very narcissistic, depressed, and high levels of anxiety. So I'm hopeful that we will see this trend continue, that move away from social media. Otherwise, we are cooked beyond cooked because the children that are going to be taking care of me when I'm old won't care at all about me. And they might even like put a pillow on my face so they don't have to deal with it anymore.
I don't know. I got a phone and a Facebook in 4th grade and I feel like I turned out just fine.
Are you serious? Fourth grade?
Fourth grade?
Fourth grade.
Were you using social media?
I got a Facebook because I have older siblings,
Yeah.
like 10 years older, like kind of a gap or whatever, and they were getting them in college, and so I got one too. And my parents' rule was always just like, as long as you're friends with us or
Sure.
whatever, So it really was fine for me with that stipulation. I think I never ended up doing anything like too crazy.
Yeah, but you were slapping all the boys' butts though all the time.
I said that tongue in cheek.
According to Pew Research, roughly half of U.S. adults in 2025 visited social media platforms like YouTube and Facebook at least once a day. Research from the American Psychological Association showed even higher usage among young people, of course, with the average U.S. teen spending nearly 5 hours a day on social media, according to the group. We'll wrap on this before we go around the room with our Freedom Friday guests. An interesting phenomenon, and I don't know if this has been happening with anybody else, but it's happened in my house. Recently, my sons, right, Logan and Kyle, 24 and 19, they started watching all these older, I'd say older, like 5, 6, 7, 8 years, animated films. I'm like, wait, they got on this kick. Like they were watching Aliens and Monsters the other day, Peabody and Sherman. And I go, like, why are they suddenly watching all these kids' films? It's because they've been seeing all these memes on social media, pulling clips from these shows that have gone viral online. It's reminded them of their youth, and they're going back and revisiting these films now just because they want to go and watch the meme. So they literally sit back and go, there's the meme, there's the meme, it's really, it's an interesting phenomenon. I just wonder if it's been happening to anybody else.
Yeah, I've seen some people posting even like early 2000s clips, meme clips, and like, oh, I did a rewatch of this, and like that movie held up pretty well. Like, yeah, you should go and check it out. I've seen a handful of guys online on X.
Well, everybody, this has been, as a friend of the show had just emailed me, john.justice@americanexperiment.org, a raw show this morning.
Yeah.
They described it as raw. You guys were raw today.
Real raw.
Yeah, that's
All
right. So, Catherine Johnson, thank you so much for coming in. Anything you want to mention before we send you off to your desk?
American Experiment podcast. Check it out every Tuesday. It's a little less raw than a Freedom Friday, but it is still fantastic. Next week, Grace is taking it solo, though, so we'll see how it holds up. Probably even better, let's be honest.
Well, if you need any help,
So nice.
if you need any help filling in, I'm happy to bring rawness to the American
wow.
Experiment
There
podcast
you
if you
go.
like.
And I'm honored for the offer. That's what our show
She'll
was
definitely
missing.
take you up on that.
I'll get back to you, John. Anything you'd like to mention, Grace, before we cut you loose this morning?
Yes, I will say we just announced our fall briefing speaker here at American Experiment. We are bringing in Byron York for our fall briefing
That's
on September
awesome.
19th.
That's so cool. I'm a huge fan of Byron
AmericanExperiment.org/events.
York.
You should get your tickets now.
I do that one more time because I stepped on you.
Oh,
I'm
no,
sorry.
you're fine. AmericanExperiment.org/events. It is going to be a great event.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of Byron York. That's awesome.
September 19th.
And it's at the winery at Sovereign Estate out in Waconia, which is a gorgeous venue.
Even
so.
better.
Great spot.
I was sold before. I also work here. I'm even sold now. More so. Representative Max Reimer.
I got nothing to plug.
All right.
Just thanks for having me.
What do
Happy to be here. Don't be slapping each other on the butt in the workplace.
Oh, and actually, I do have
Good
one more
advice.
thing. I do have one more thing for everybody, but let's go to AK. Anything you want to mention before we say goodbye this morning?
Yeah, on Mondays from 6:30 to 8:30 p.m. I do a podcast called Culture Warriors Unchained. Go and check that out. This weekend, what I got going on,
Is it raw?
Yeah, it's super raw. I'm actually going to be volunteering with the Hugo Lions. Shout out to my Lions because I'm a Lion. I'm also a Freemason, and yeah, it's gonna be fantastic. And I hope you guys enjoy yourself and have a great weekend.
Real quick, what do you guys turnout Tuesday? What do you guys think? You think we're going to be normal, above average, below average? Any quick hot takes?
I think it's going to be super low turnout.
Super low
on the
turnout, huh?
Republican side. I think it's going to be super high turnout. On the Democrat side, that's pretty typical. I'm not saying anything that's blowing anyone's minds, but I have seen the numbers on early voting so far, and it is low.
Do you mean country or Minnesota?
Minnesota.
Okay.
This Tuesday, it's low. I think in total in Chisago County, so you're talking, 40, 50,000 people. I think the last I checked was earlier this week, and only 700 people had voted early, which is astonishingly low. So I'm guessing it'll be a low turnout. Would love to be surprised on that, but Republicans, they live their lives, they work their jobs, they don't want to pay attention to politics. As we know, Democrats, this is their religion, and they treat it that way. So you're going to have high turnout in the Democrat side with this contested primary election. I think you're going to have relatively low turnout in the Republican.
And here's a caveat that I'll say. If the turnout for Republicans is low, I think that you'll likely see a Dameth come from behind surprise compared to the polling. If it's high, I think that Lindell will run away with it. And I think the rest of the races, I think high or low, I think Tafoya, that's where the money's at. But I do think that there's a potential that we could see higher turnout if the candidates did their job. If not, then I think that has something to be desired going into the general election. And it better be a wake-up call that whatever it is that we're doing, if we have low turnout with this many candidates, we need to figure out something, because we need to have high turnout if we want to have a chance to flip the state.
AK, Max, Grace, Catherine, thank you so much. That was a lot of fun this morning, guys. Always appreciate you spending the time with the show. And speaking of Monday, slated to talk with Hennepin County Attorney candidate Diane Krenz.
Awesome.
Should be joining us. Michelle Tafoya is scheduled to be on the show, as is gubernatorial candidate Lisa Damas. So we got a packed show on Monday. Have yourself a fantastic weekend. If you missed any portion of today's show, check out the podcast. That'll be up on the Mixlr app within a matter of hours and all podcast platforms. You can also watch the replay of the show at the Center of the American Experiment Facebook and YouTube pages. God bless to you. Have yourself a great weekend. We'll talk to you Monday morning, and we'll go out with a little Zima Fizz for a Friday.
Static waves at dawn, a voice that lingers when night is gone. Twin cities hum with stories spun. John Justice rides the rising sun.